is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
End around to Neighbors. Has a crease. Malik Neighbors down the sideline. Stays in bounds with a cutback. House call. Another LSU touchdown.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Millen, ball comes loose, and it's going to be an incomplete pass. No, it's not. Whistle dead. It's still alive. Turner is going to waltz into the end zone for a touchdown.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Texas brings pressure. Duggan backpedals, lofts to the end zone, wide open. Johnson, touchdown.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Pokey Wilson in motion. It's Benson. Benson, his second touchdown tonight. 15 yards for Trey Benson.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. A new week as we enter the last week in June. Two different, you would think, some sort of timelines this week. One of them is all four of the incoming Big 12 programs. It's Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, and Brigham Young. We're going to show you in a minute what they're doing this week to kind of count down to July the 1st when they officially enter the Big 12. And then June 30th is that deadline that San Diego State faces. If, in fact, that letter, whatever it does mean or whatever it will mean, when that comes down, and Matt Brown will join us because he got the official letter from San Diego State to the Mountain West Conference, and I think tomorrow has the response from the conference back to San Diego State, so he'll join us today. Craig Smoak joins me. The weekend is over, and now yet another week, Craig. We run down another week in June, and July will be filled with media days and NFL training camps.
Yeah, it will. So let's get into what all's going on because there's still a lot, despite the fact that maybe it's a little bit of a lull in the overall action. Major League Baseball is taking the forefront at this point with the NBA draft coming and going, and College World Series still with one more game to play, as we'll discuss here. But yeah, it's kind of in that dog days of summer period. But like you said, a couple weeks away from media days, and that'll get the ball, I think, rolling for everybody. The month of July, we'll see every big conference or every conference have their get-togethers, and so that should provide a lot of news and quotes and overreactions and things like that. But, just about 2 months really to go till showtime as far as college football, hitting the gridiron and actually going out there and playing games. But between media days and so much recruiting is going on. I mean, that was kind of, I think, the story for everybody this past weekend. And then just, this ongoing realignment story that, based on every arrow from every direction, this week something should be known, whether it's, San Diego State's intentions becoming clear or what have you. And you would think in the next couple of weeks that, certainly we'd have something a little firmer than what we've been working with. But then again, We've seen the can kick down the road so many times. I understand that at some point you can't kick it any further than you have, but I don't know when that end point is, and it does feel like if there is going to be some sort of actual resolution to grab hold of, it could be coming in the next few days.
Yeah, it could be. So let's start with this. The Big 12's welcoming 4 new members officially on Saturday, July the 1st, so the end of this week, schools that are incoming. Let's start with the one in the state of Texas, the University of Houston. Their graphic that was put out, big city, big moments, Big 12, toast to the Big 12, June 30th, virtual event concluding with a toast at midnight to welcome, and also Houston joins the Big 12. Also, UCF. I'm thrilled to say that we will be the flagship school for the Big 12 Conference. This is, of course, a map of Florida. In the state of Florida, with this move, the Big 12 is planting the flag right here in the heart of the Sunshine State. That's UCF. Then there's Brigham Young, which has really been counting down for about 2 weeks. We had Greg Wrubell, the voice of BYU Cougars Athletics, on last week to discuss this. The big countdown, Friday, June 30th, 11 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. The big party on Saturday, July the 1st in the afternoon at 3 at the Brigham Young practice fields. The Big 12 weekend, be there. That's from BYU. And Cincinnati, the Bearcats, Friday, June 30th. The Big 12 Bash countdown to day one from noon until midnight. Photo booth, video games, inflatables, meet and greet with the UC Spirit Squad, 12 hours of giveaways, and then, of course, there's the sponsor. So you have them, Houston, UCF, Brigham Young, and Cincinnati counting down. It's one thing, when you hear, man, I can't wait to get out of the conference, or I wish we were in a different conference. And it's also very refreshing, in my opinion, Craig, to have these 4 schools that are, man, let's count this down. Let's have fun. This is the last week. We can't wait till Saturday.
Yeah, it's good to see some people that want to be where you are and want to join up and, be a part of what is this new look Big 12 conference, and a conference that has a very, uncertain future, not in terms of a TV deal or in terms of the makeup or anything like that. I think that's all pretty well known, and if anything, there would only be additives or it just stays pat. So, you're not worried about too much change. But, yeah, the excitement part of it, given that there were 2 schools who – I don't know, basically got everything they ever wanted outside of, I guess, in Oklahoma's case, some better kickoff times, which isn't always in the conference or in the conference's control. They couldn't even be bothered to send out their schedules when those were launched. And I felt like, there's a lot of pettiness going on. I felt like that was just so unnecessary, and it's not a big deal. Like, whatever,
right.
Go your separate ways. That's fine. But it just sat there with me like, what did the Big 12 do to you exactly? Like, that you're so you can't even be bothered to post the schedule of the final year in the conference. Like, why does this have to be a weird or even a negative thing? Why can't you just say, like, hey, that was a great 20-something years. We both won national titles while we were here. We both won multiple national championships in various sports while we were here. We had some huge memories. We won, Heisman, or we won Maxwell's, or we won whatever. Are you just going to pretend like that didn't happen? Like, and again, what did the Big 12 do to Texas? What did they do to Oklahoma? I don't know, but I just felt like that pettiness when the schedules came out was really just kind of undeserved. And so to see some schools that are, actually excited about the Big 12 and being in this league and, aren't treating it like it's, some, pile of poo next to them they have to wake up next to or something like that. It's great to see that. So, I'm looking forward to more of that enthusiasm from all 4 schools as they get further underway.
All right, and then there's the timeline, June 30th, when San Diego State would have to, inform the Mountain West Conference that they plan on leaving. It would be a $17 million exit fee. If it didn't get it before June 30th, it would then double to $34 million. We went over this story. We had a columnist, Mark Ziegler, who covers San Diego State, and then also a couple of the other stories about it last week. Matt Brown, who will join us in about 15 minutes or so, he has the letter from San Diego State to the Mountain West Conference. You can read it right there. I'm not going to go over all of it, but it says exactly what was reported. 1, we're leaving. That use this as the intent that we are leaving the Mountain West Conference. Bullet point number 1 is we would like to know if you would give us an extension of a month, which would be past June the 30th, because of other issues out of our control when it comes to conferences and what they're doing. In other words, the Pac-12 waiting to launch whatever will be their TV deal. And then number 2, as far as wanting to also not have to pay all of the exit fee because of money that San Diego State men's basketball has earned in the NCAA tournament, including their great run all the way to the championship game earlier this year. So to kind of take off whatever is the owed amount, whether it's $17 million, that's the letter. Matt also, who will join us in 15 minutes or so, has the letter back from the conference to San Diego State, which we've heard about, which was basically, we get it, okay, you're leaving the conference. Here is now what we need in return. So we'll get more into that with Matt Brown today at 3:25. So there we are with that. That's the official letter, San Diego State, that we had reports about throughout the week, sent to the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought was confusing. Adela De La Torre, the president, says in this letter that they're withdrawing. I mean, I don't know where the thought was in San Diego State's head that they, had sent a concise message that was easily understandable, and not sure where the confusion came from, because the confusion's very clear. It came from this. As shared with our board of directors, I know we don't want to go through this all, but it has been an absolute joy to collaborate and compete with each of the member universities in order to exit as efficiently and fairly as possible. I'd like to respectfully make the following request for your consideration. But the very first line, this letter is to formally notice that San Diego State intends to resign effective June 30th.
From the Mountain West.
From the Mountain West, or at an agreed upon later date. But you already said it.
Yep.
You left open room for but you already said that you intend to leave in the very beginning of this letter, and then you say, well, these are some things that we can talk about, however, though, to make it more of a seamless transition. And then in the very, bottom couple of paragraphs, saying SDSU's honored to have been a founding member of the, so it's
past tense.
I mean, I think this is very clear. They made it known they wanted to leave. They showed their cards and their intentions, and I think the Mountain West, reacted accordingly. I don't know, and I'm pretty open-minded about these types of things. If this was a letter that was, not so black and white, and it was like, well, they didn't really say that they were leaving. This says that they are intending to leave.
Intends to resign, and then at June 30th, 2024 means that would be the last day they would be a part of the conference, and they would then join, most likely, of course, you would think, and most likely will be the case with the Pac-12. Look at the very last paragraph before sincerely, Adela De La Torre, the president. The athletic director's cell phone number's on there. 619. I cannot believe.
Glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, huh?
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Well, I mean, it's there, and I'm not the only one that saw that, but that also was included. Matt Brown, again, just around the corner. So there's that deadline coming up June 30th. Is there going to be a possibility of give and take? Sure, there always will be, but that right there would like, if you're San Diego State, to be able to get out before the end of the week and cost yourself just half of the money it will cost you the day after that. Tonight in Omaha, man, what a College World Series. Two really good teams. LSU winning that game in dramatic fashion. Last week, of course, to move on to the championship series. Then they do it again in the first game. And then Florida just unloads every piece of venom in their bones on LSU yesterday to win that game and breaking all sorts of records for runs scored, etc. Game 3, the final game, it will end tonight. Skeens, Hurd, Cooper, and Herring available for LSU to pitch. Kaggs, Fisher, Neely, and Slater available for Florida. And as Kendall Rogers put on, he's a great college baseball writer. Game on that tonight, right after this show ends. That will be on ESPN.
Yeah, well, we know we're going to have a winner one way or the other. The end is here tonight for college baseball, and basically the college sports calendar finally for 2023. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see a champion crowned. Obviously, it'll be a team from the SEC. We knew that, days ago when it came down to these final two. But, which one is what we've been waiting on now. So, yeah, that'll be fun to see that settle tonight. And felt like when LSU won game 1, it's like, is this like a team of destiny or something? Just some of the moments that they've had and some of the games that they've won. And, not so fast. Florida with a nice answer last night and, left no doubts about the fact that there was going to be a game 3. So excited to see, with high stakes and a do-or-die situation, what kind of a baseball game we get later on this evening. But should be a great one. And, Garrett, how are you feeling after a very different game 2 from what you saw in game 1?
I was a little sick yesterday, just to be honest. I had to turn it off in the 7th, or something might have been broken in my house.
Tummy ache, huh?
Yeah, it was.
All nauseous.
It was rough. And anytime you lose to Florida, like I just, that's the one team. Like that's my team I can't stand more than anybody else. So that one hurt a little more. But look, dude, you got your ace. I know Skeens has to get on the mound at some point. But yeah, dude, as a whole, they've got to play better. Jordan, the shortstop, just had a bad game. Hopefully he won't do that again tonight. But yeah, I cannot handle losing to Florida.
Tell me how you really think.
I can't.
Yeah, well, you have one more chance to get back. And here's the thing, and usually when a team just unloads with a 20-4, 23-4, 17-0, whatever, it's not, you almost wish you could hold back some of those runs for tonight, because you're going to need every one of them to beat Skeens and whoever else is pitching. The question about Skeens now, He got them to the where they were able to win the game against Wake Forest and then came out because it held them scoreless. When was the last time he pitched, Garrett?
A couple days ago.
Was it Thursday?
It was Thursday.
So there is some, how many pitches does he have? You got to be careful. You protect the young man, but you're also trying to win a national championship.
Hey, let the arm come off, man. You got to get the natty.
Yeah, and they're not going to, listen, he may get hurt down the road anyway. You hope not. Hopefully he stays healthy and has a great professional career. College football over the weekend. Baylor did get a commitment from Evangel offensive lineman Christian Santoro. He's a 3-star player.
Tristan,
excuse me. He's a 3-star offensive lineman out of Shreveport. And I saw some of the responses in the forums, of course, some of them sarcastic about who Baylor beat out. If Eric Mateos offers an offensive lineman a scholarship, I'll take his history over anybody who might be ranking or whatever star number is next to him. And we'll have a guy on today at 4 in Cole Patterson, a little bit about recruiting. And then tomorrow, somebody from On 3 on the national rankings following the weekend. So they get an offensive lineman. Texas, as the weekend started, what a huge commitment. Jarek Gibson. Committed to Texas. Typical, look at the size, 5'11", 207 from Gainesville. He's at IMG Academy. He chose Texas over Miami, Florida, among others, and Florida has been having a great run. They get running backs, and they chew them up, and they usually are pretty good. Not all of them, but if you're a running back and Texas calls you, you have to listen to them, and so he has committed to UT. They also received the commitment from Atascocita offensive lineman Nate Kibble. That was yesterday. They had their big offensive or official visit weekend. Baylor had theirs. Everybody seemed to have one over the weekend. That's, at least for now, whatever they have gained from that, as if Baylor has done, among others, the same thing. All right, Kirk Krissa. This is back and forth. Bob Huggins has to resign. He's no longer at West Virginia. He wanted to enter the portal. Well, then all of a sudden, Josh Ehlert is hired as the head coach, interim men's basketball coach. Krissa then announces that he will be back to remain at West Virginia. While they do keep him, they did lose Trey Mitchell, pretty good player, averaged 12 points and 6 rebounds a game. He entered the portal. He is committed to play at Kentucky. So there's a couple of notes, West Virginia and men's basketball with that. Couple of other Big 12 basketball notes. Devin Cambridge has committed to Texas Tech. He was committed to Oregon. And Texas this afternoon picked up a commitment from former Kansas signee Chris Johnson, who committed to Kansas, and then in the offseason decided to enter the transfer portal, wanted a release from his NIL at Kansas, opened up his recruitment, and is now headed to play at Texas in Austin. So a lot of moving parts as well in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, you just threw like 10 names at me. I don't know. It's a lot of recruiting going on, and I can't even tell which one was football and basketball in some of those. I have to rewind a little bit because there's a lot of action going on. But, on a couple of those, it was a great pickup with Texas and another stellar running back, as you pointed out. They've been stacking those guys, and that's a room that really seems to – the whole program seems to have kind of a buzz about it. I know we do that every offseason, but it does seem like there's some legitimacy to it with Sark right now and the way they're recruiting and just kind of the feel overall. So adding Jarek Gibson, just another guy in line with Cedric Baxter and just coming off of the Bijan run. They're pretty well set up there. And I know there's others, Jonathan Brooks and, so on that, are going to be a part of the mix. And Brooks, obviously, this year with Baxter. But, just keep building that class up. And when all's said and done, Texas, like pretty much every single year since recruiting has existed, they'll be, somewhere in the top 5 to 10, probably more 5 than 10. Depends, obviously, on a variety of factors here over the next few months. But, I don't know what the overall figure is of how many times they've finished outside of the top 10. But, just the way that it feels, at least, just reflecting back over time, it seems like probably like 18 out of 20 times they finished in the top 10. And it may not be that great, but it's not far off from that. So, no surprise that they're experiencing some some good times this summer, and their class is going to be really good when all is said and done. But, yeah, great news for West Virginia on the Carissa front. A shame on the other side of things that you also lose a guy in Mitchell, but, can't have it all. And, certainly given the situation last week, you're feeling better about it than you did previous to some of this news happening, even if it's not all been, everybody staying pat and, electing to stay in Morgantown. But, yeah, getting Carissa to change his mind is big, and, good luck to them. That was a shocking kind of out of nowhere situation with Huggins that popped up, and, they've handled it as best they can, and hopefully they're on to some calmer waters here moving forward.
And you also wonder, which is very fair to at least ask this, is that after the Huggins resignation, you knew that some would enter the portal. That's what's going to happen no matter the sport, the coach. But also, then all of a sudden you have Carissa, he enters the portal. Mitchell enters the portal. And then the Toussaint also entered the portal. And then West Virginia said, hey, we got to somehow stop the bleeding here, and so they have the interim head coach, whatever they may do, eventually take that off the title, whatever, find somebody else, I don't know, but it at least stop the bleeding when it comes to Carissa, and he now remains as a part of the West Virginia program. Adam McDonald, yes, will the Pac-12 end up with a TV media deal? I know you've been asking that for days upon days and weeks and months, as everybody else has. Yes, they will end up with a TV deal. The question that we don't know, maybe they do, is what will that TV deal look like and what will it do to stabilize the Pac-12 conference? I don't know.
If anybody's telling you they're not getting a TV deal, that person's lying to you.
Yeah, they're going to have one. Yeah.
That's not a part of the question here. The question isn't whether they'll get a TV deal. The question is whether, and the question's been the entire time, and some people don't even consider it a question. They think that no matter what that TV deal looks like, where it is, who it's with, how many channels, how much money, that no matter what, everything's going to stay pat. I don't necessarily believe that 100%. I've leaned the entire time towards the Pac staying together, but at least in the last couple months I've opened my mind to the idea that, shoot, they play around long enough and get willy-nilly enough with it, and those numbers aren't that great, then, perhaps there's a chance that you could see some teams slide over. But, yeah, the question's never been about getting a TV deal, even though it has been a process. It's just a matter of what that would look like, and that's what we still wait on, and that's what's got to come to a head here pretty soon, you would think, especially, with the end of the month. And even every little insider or whoever that has a source, I think some of them on the West Coast have backed off from making posts about, well, watch out for this date, because the last time somebody did that, absolutely nothing happened on that date. So he's not done that anymore. But, others have pointed to the end of the month across the board, whether it's national guys or not, of hey, there's this July 1st date and, this and that. We see the situation with San Diego State. I don't know that means that, hey, draw a line in the sand at the end of this week. But, yeah, here in this week or the next couple weeks, you would have to think that something's got to give for them at this point. But, it's not a matter of getting a TV deal again, just to be clear.
Yeah, no, they're going to get one. And for the sake of the conference, if it's enough to keep everything together, to be able to have at least longer grant of rights than maybe a couple of 3 years, that would be great for everybody involved. And if it's not, then there will be the possibility that has been discussed for nearly a year of possible movement. All right, Matt Brown today. I've said this before, I subscribe to one sports website. It's called theathletic.com. And one of my favorite parts of that, one, we have relationship with a lot of the columnists and analysts, et cetera, is what I get every morning, which is kind of an early morning newsletter summary that's written by Chris Branch. It's called The Pulse. It's very well written. In fact, it's probably as well written as anything I usually read that makes it early for the morning. You just kind of can skim right through it. Also, Rivals.com national analyst Cole Patterson. He covered the Texas 7-on-7 weekend tournaments. Pat Nunley and JD Walton, two soon-to-be members of the Baylor Athletics Hall of Fame when they have the ceremony in November, will join us today. That will also happen. That's what we have today. We have the full house. Garrett Ross, Levi Caraway back from Europe, Graham Bronstein, Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and thank you to those in the chat room. Our text number is 254-339-1122. Matt Brown is next. IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace. Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners have put together a business that is fantastic to do two things for you, the customer. One, find out what is bothering you, whether it's a shoulder, an ankle, a knee, your back. I've been inside their MRI machine. It is state of the art. I've been inside others, but I have been inside theirs 4 different times, and the experience for someone like me who can become and is claustrophobic has been very, very comfortable because of how the Texan specialists help you and then, make it very comfortable. I'm telling you, I don't like tight spaces. I don't. And when you get inside that MRI machine and you're on that table and then they bring you kind of in deeper and everything's, and then all of a sudden there's like something comes down and like holds you. That can freak you out. It has not with me. I get the headsets. I get the little almost like the cloth over my eyes because I don't want to see something right in front of my face or nose. They are very, very, very understanding of you maybe getting jittery inside of it. I've never had a problem with them. And the best part as well, besides the evidence of your injury, is $497 or less is the cost every single time, and they will file papers to help you even with a discount with your insurance. It's IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff are amazing at IdealMRI.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
It's Ram season at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals couldn't be any hotter. Shop the greatest selection of new inventory in Central Texas and save big on Ram trucks. Now offering 10% off MSRP on a new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or get 2.9% for 72 months. The choice is yours. Plus an extra $500 bonus cash to first responders. Allen Samuels in Waco is the place to shop Ram trucks. Visit today or browse online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texans are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
He's got great information, extra points. Matt Brown, the publisher. And we've had Matt on quite a bit about different stories, including the EA Sports and what might be happening eventually with that. And, of course, being AD and how you work through an athletic department. Well, last week we had him about that. But Matt joins us today because he's the one that put the letter out from San Diego State to the Mountain West Conference and all. Again, Matt, thank you for your time. Craig Smoak, David Smoak. There is some, and I even asked a business attorney this about the intent or we will leave the conference. Is there any difference, in your opinion, the way that letter is written?
Man, it's a great question. It's funny. I've talked to several attorneys over the past couple of days, since the first reporting around these letters came out, and I've gotten different answers. I've got some that have said, look, man, I know you're not an attorney, but your layman's reading of this sounds about right. It would be the equivalent. I had a couple of guys tell me this, like, if you tell your spouse that you intend to file for divorce in a month, you shouldn't be surprised if there's papers on your dinner table the next day. That's part of how this stuff works. And I've had some attorneys that say, well, no, intent is different than actually doing it, right? The reason I shared this, and why I'm going to share all of the letters that I have here after filing the open records request. Like, it's great for everyone to have a chance to see the receipts. But what typically happens in these situations, and it happened with the American Athletic Conference and schools leaving there, it happened with the Ohio Valley Conference just a couple of days ago when Eastern Kentucky left, is there's what the bylaws say, and there's what everybody negotiates. And those two things are often pretty different, even if there's correspondence to indicate that people want to play hardball in those conversations.
So, Matt, just to be clear, you sent a FOIA request, is that correct, to try and get some of this and, kind of shed some light on what's going on, right?
Sure, yeah. We saw reporting from Pete Thamel at ESPN and a couple other places, I want to say last week, that summarized this correspondence. And when we get these kind of things, reports, I try to get the actual receipts, not because I think anybody is being dishonest, but because seeing the full context of the remarks, I think, could be instructive for readers. And I think we've even seen that here. I've only shared one of them on social media with lots of folks being able to see the entire letter, thinking, okay, well, this sure looks like a resignation letter to me, or now we're haggling over the definition of intent, which if I had wanted to do, I think I would have just went ahead and gone to law school instead of been a reporter. But these are the kind of arguments that shape how the business of college sports actually works.
Matt, there's obviously most of the reaction, I guess the thoughts are, my God, San Diego State, you're an idiot. But in any way, shape, or form, because of how they did send it in, did they somehow, secure the fact it will only be $17 million, not $34, no matter what? Because if you're going to say it's intent, that means, okay, it counts.
That's entirely possible. And San Diego State, to be clear, is certainly intending on not being in this conference after this academic year. Their intent, and this is not telegraphed in this letter, but if you talk to any administrator in that conference for any length of time, they think they're going to be in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 would like to bring them on. It's a handshake deal. They're waiting on this television arrangement. And quite frankly, let's say the worst case scenario happens, right? Let's say San Diego State withdraws. They said, okay, the intent was the actual resignation date. We're out of here after this year. We're joining the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 falls apart. Big 12 takes some of those schools. There's no league left to join. I can tell you the Mountain West will take them back. Now, the Mountain West might charge them a fee, like what happened when San Diego State joined the Big East for 12 minutes, and they had to pay a reentrance fee. But there is a financial reason for everybody to get back together, even if they're mad at each other, and that's the Mountain West television deal. Because San Diego State is one of the few institutions in that league that's in a top 30 television market that actually has a presence within that market, that has the capability, as we've already seen last year, of producing multiple NCAA units. And there is concern that if San Diego State splits, that the Mountain West may have to renegotiate their television deal. So you can walk out now, pay the lower fee. Absolute worst case scenario, you back in, you look a little bit embarrassed, but in 10 years, I don't know if anyone's going to really remember it.
Matt, is there any chance they send this if they don't feel 100% that they're headed to the Pac-12?
I don't think there's any chance you send this unless you think that there's a 99.9% chance you're going somewhere.
Okay.
Right. And it's the Pac-12 is choice 1, 2, and 3. I know there's been conversations with the Big 12. That's been reported elsewhere as well. I know they're not a major priority. Part of the reason not a major priority is because even the Big 12 thinks they're going to go to the Pac-12. So you don't send this unless you are very, very confident that you have a landing spot. But it's not 100% because nothing is 100% until it's signed, sealed, notarized, and the attorney stamps it. And that's not where we are right now at the Pac-12.
Now, I know you have teased that you have the response from the Mountain West Conference back to San Diego State. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep, I have in my possession all 4 letters of correspondence.
All right. Can you at least tease a little bit more about this?
Sure.
Is the response as terse or, okay, thank you very much, have a great day?
I don't read it as terse, right?
Okay.
The first response opens with Commissioner, Gloria Nevarez saying like, "Hey, we've really appreciated all the time that you spent in this league. We're sorry to see you leave. We accept that resignation." The first response doesn't actually rule out waiving any of the bylaws. It says, "Hey, we got to go talk to the board, but we're just letting you know that pursuant to bylaw X, Y, or Z, like we are construing your statement as a resignation, and here's what your obligations are to that resignation." Presumably. In the next 2 days, the rest of the Mountain West board meets and they, go back and say, "Hey, we've talked about it. We're not changing the exit fee. You still have those obligations." I understand that nuance and context sometimes gets lost when talking about this stuff. I do not view or have reason to believe that this breakup negotiation is as hostile as maybe Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12,
right,
or Maryland leaving the ACC, or some other realignment, or UIW leaving the WAC and going back to the Southland. Like that got pretty ugly. I don't think we're nearly at that point here right now at the Mountain West.
Matt, so you're going to have those letters, and everybody will be able to start to see those tomorrow. Great stuff there. And I'm like you. I've seen all the conversation. There's definitely a split on, well, that's definitely intent. No, that's not. That's not intent. It's been amazing to see the split there. But just, as far as what's next, what's kind of the next part of this for both sides?
Well, the good news is there should be some very significant clarity very soon because the deadline's June 30th.
Right.
If you resign from the Mountain West Conference and you intend to depart after the 2023-2024 season, after June 30th, the buyout's $34 million. Before June 30th, it's $17 million. So you need to clarify that one way or another this week. What it is that which side of the line you want to be, and how much that you think that you're gonna be owed. We've been hearing now, I feel like since December, that a Pac-12 media deal is imminent. And we've heard this from presidents, and we've heard this from YouTube people, we've heard this from other reporters. My line at this point is that I am treating the Pac-12 television deal the same way that the Gospel of Mark treats the return of Christ, right? No man knoweth the hour, not even the angels in heaven. It could come tomorrow. It might come in 20 years. I have no idea. Whenever that happens, there'll be some clarity too. But at least we know, hey, at the end of this week, we should know what San Diego State's intentions are with more clarity.
And one question about the Pac-12, because let's say San Diego State has to pay $17 million. Whatever it is, they'll negotiate that like Texas and OU did and paid a pretty good price. But no matter what the Pac-12 deal is, even if it may not be, and it might end up being just fine, but even their deal at the lowest level would be a big boost for San Diego State, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to say San Diego State's making like 3 or 4 in television right now from the Mountain West. Even if you're getting something on the lower end and you're not getting a full television share, you move up to the Pac-12, you're looking at the 20s. Like that's huge for a school like San Diego State.
All right. So what is your prediction? What conference will they play in next year?
I think they're going to, well, next year they're going to be, or I guess like this coming season, they're going to be in the Mountain West no matter what. Right. After that, I really do think they're going to be in the Pac-12.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that, I don't feel as confident that, that the Pac-12 is going to exist for 5 years, but I think that they're going to get enough even if their games are on the CW and the gas station Cheddar Network and Game Boy Colors or whatever, that they're going to find a way to make the math work to stick together for a couple of years, and that's where San Diego State will be, which is where they wanted to be since like the 60s.
Yeah,
it's nice for that fan base.
Yeah, it would be great for them. Obviously, that also means the Pac-12 is moving forward in whatever way it might be, and I think everyone wants to just get to the finish line, move on, and then Matt, we discuss football game, like the schedule and much more.
I know. Could you imagine? Like, I feel kind of bad for fans in your footprint, right? Because we've been just relitigating these television deals and the same proxy war, brother, for months. And there's a lot. And I specialize in off the field stuff. Like, that's my whole business. But boy, there's a lot of interesting on the field storylines in the Big 12 right now. It's a shame that this time of year, you might be looking at breaking down depth charts or looking at schedules, and now everybody has to cosplay as a Twitter lawyer and an accountant and a media rights analyst. Like, I'll be ready to start talking ball myself.
Yeah, me too. Matt, thank you as always. Great job with the letters. Good luck with it the rest of the week, including tomorrow. Matt Brown, Extra Points with us, the publisher, and you can follow him on his Twitter account. He will have the response from the Mountain West Conference, and then, of course, as he said, there's 4 different letters, including the one that he showed today.
Yeah, I think Matt does a really great job, and good to have him on again, and glad he was able to go and secure through the FOIA request those letters so that we can just see it for ourselves and not speculate on what somebody heard from somebody or how somebody took it, because people can take things differently. Now you can just see it in black and white. Like, here's the actual facts. Here's what was said, and here's where the conversation went, and that's how we got to where we are now. But it certainly seems like where we are now is a place where in a few days San Diego State's probably going to be announced as a Pac-12 school. Every indication is there, and the only question really seems to be that TV deal. But as you point out, they are going to be hitting the lottery regardless, even if it is measly money for an Oregon or even for Oregon State. That's huge money for a San Diego State.
Yep.
So, I don't know how many people have looked at it from that standpoint of, well, what if so-and-so is unhappy? Well, you don't realize that the other schools that would be coming in feel like they've hit the absolute jackpot because they've been working with, a third of what would be the lowest total. Maybe you'd think that not even that. Even less than that.
Mm-hmm.
You're like a fourth or a fifth of what the low total would be for the Pac-12 that people feel like would be some sort of threshold. Still 5 times more than what they were making. Yeah. So, they're set regardless.
It's like the teams coming into the Big 12. They were making pretty good money in the American, but nothing compared to what they're about to make, even the lower amount early on as they enter, and eventually the full amount with the conference.
Which is why you say, well, hey, San Diego State could be, this juggernaut if they suddenly have 4 times as much TV money coming in, and that's the same thought process, yes, that the Big 12 had of like, okay, Cincinnati's making the playoff with that. Imagine if they were making $31 million a year, or same thing with UCF and obviously Houston and BYU as well. So, yeah, that part of the story seems like it's going to wrap up here pretty quickly because of the timing. And, as far as the rest of it goes, that seems like it should be around the corner as well. If you're going to be announcing San Diego State's intention to join the league, then I would think that some kind of a TV deal has to be coming right around the corner, right? So, seems like, the timing has arrived, and this should be an interesting next few days and couple of weeks.
All right, when we come back, his name is Chris Branch. You may not know him. I'm going to tell you who he is. I kind of teased it earlier in the show. He writes The Pulse with theathletic.com, which is a morning email newsletter that summarizes everything and has features and much more. And I just have been amazed how smooth and easy to read it is. And we'll have him on. And then Cole Patterson, who's the national recruiting advisor for Rivals.com, looking back at the 7-on-7 weekend in Texas. All of that and more. This is 365 Sports. Joined by Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com, Director of Marketing. 4th of July, it's coming up. We've been through Father's Day, Memorial Day before that, and now you have 4th of July. What are a couple of specials, or maybe when people call, they can focus on the 4th of July weekend?
So we just got a new shipment of inventory in, so we are stocked back up on our brisket. We're stocked back up on our ribeyes. Of course, we've got hamburger patties, jalapeno and cheese patties. Those are one of our biggest sellers. Also put together what we call the grilling package, and it's a package that gives you sirloin, filet, hamburger package, regular patties, jalapeno and cheese patties, New York strip, and some of our Wagyu garlic links. They're fully cooked. You just throw them on the grill or put them in the oven.
It's pretty amazing, the growth of the business. TexasBeefHouse.com, just outside of Tylerman White House. Aaron Duvall, the owner, and we're talking to Samantha. To just be a part of this company and watch it grow, how impressed have you been in just these recent months or in the last year or so?
It's actually been pretty awesome watching us grow the last year. We started this company almost 6 years ago, and just by word of mouth, it has blown up our last year. We're now shipping to all the lower 48 states. We ship Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We also do local deliveries in our area within a 20-mile radius, and we're part of our farmers market every Saturday here.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture to your plate. TexasBeefHouse.com.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links. Fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Chris Branch is a writer for theathletic.com, and I've been thinking about reaching out to him now for months because of the morning newsletter that is kind of a summary of everything that just happened the night before. And, I mean, even if it's late into the night, whether it's a late NBA Finals game or whatever. And he joins us now from the Pulse, theathletic.com on 365 Sports with Craig and David Smoak. Chris, thank you very much for your time. So how did you get into the business? We'll get into what you do, the Pulse. I'm very impressed with it and the way it's easy to read. But how did you get into the business? Give us a little background.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for that kind intro. I got into the business. I went to school for sports journalism. I was a baseball beat writer for a while, and then kind of veered out of the industry. And I came back to do this. I really believe in the potency of newsletters, and it's a really exciting space right now. And I'm having a lot of fun doing what I do. And as you mentioned, my sleep schedule is very strange, but it's a lot of fun.
So, do you kind of have jot notes down throughout the day on like a notepad or maybe an iPad or yourself? How do you, because there's so many moving parts and whatever you think might be the story at 1 o'clock on a Sunday may not even be a part of it until a blip on the radar by 10 o'clock that night.
It's true. I do keep a running document open during the day. And when I see something, I might write a little something down or just write like a mental note for later. But I mean, the prime of what I do, it's awesome and it's scary at the same time because everything is my beat. So I have so much stuff to choose from, but I also have everything to choose from, and it's very hard to pick sometimes when you have a limited amount of space and time that you want to have people reading, and everything is available and everything is interesting because the sports world is largely interesting, especially when it's busy. So. Most of my work is done at night, but I definitely keep a running tab during the day. I mean, some stuff, the advantage of being at a great place like The Athletic is that we write and break news that I know is going to impact the sports news world the next day. So, for example, if we had a feature running tomorrow, I don't know of any yet, but that I know has this like juicy tidbit in there, I can go ahead and do this and like write that earlier because I know it's going to make people talk the next day, and I have it at 2 p.m. before anyone else has it. So that's a very cool advantage of working where I work and working with the great journalists that I work with. But otherwise, this is 11 p.m. Let's make a final call on what we have here, you know?
Well, I was going to ask you what you kind of alluded to it on the fact that there are different parts of what The Athletic produces on a daily basis. And do they sometimes, an editor or whoever, say, hey, by the way, will you include these next 3 things tomorrow morning?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we have, I've been at The Athletic almost 2 years now, and we have grown a really big audience. Thankfully, it's been a wonderful ride, but we have a lot of eyes on our newsletter. So I get a lot of heads up, but I like to search it out too. I'm in every room at the company, basically virtually, and I feel like I need to know what's going on in every section and what's happening. So most of my day, jotting notes down, is spent reading. I read every single thing that we write, basically, and to make sure I'm not missing anything. It's one of my biggest fears is that I miss a big thing that we do and that I can't use it.
Do you have the ability now to maybe show off your sense of humor in this role rather than what you were doing before?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely always been available to me, you know, maybe on social media, but here I can do it to a wider audience and people like it. It's very nice. Sometimes I worry that it doesn't translate, but people seem to like it, and I've been encouraged to do it from the people on my team. So it's a cool thing that I'm able to do. I'm really blessed.
Yeah. Okay. So tonight, Game 3. The lead or the headline this morning in your newsletter, who's scoring 20 tonight? That game yesterday, I got home to watch it, and I think it was already like 18-4, whatever the score might have been. That turned into just what might have been, let's say, a 7-2 win by Florida to extend it to Game 3 into just a completely different story, did it not?
It absolutely did. And here's the thing that I wasn't able to expound on in the newsletter. That's crazy, and it is a conversation about the College World Series at large where, you know, LSU will have played, and Florida less so because they've won all of their games besides, you know, Friday's game. LSU played, I think this is like their 7th game or 6th game in 8 or 9 days. So the pitching staff is just burned out. And at some point, if you look into the stats, when it was like 8 or 9-3, LSU, without blatantly saying it, kind of waved the white flag. And they put in, back of the bullpen relievers to eat up some innings and to save all those arms for tonight, which is, to me, it's crazy that you're in a national title series. And that's probably the smart play once you get 5 or 6 runs down, is to essentially be like, score 24 runs on us and we'll get you tomorrow, maybe. It's just, it blows my mind. It's cool, and it's cool strategy, but it's also, it feels off, but it's interesting.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I mentioned this early in the show that usually when a team unloads, even if it's like a football game or a basketball game where they just get a silly amount of points, it doesn't happen the next time. Now, I'm not football. You can go 56-0 and win, score 56 the next week. But most of the time when you put up a 23 or 24 or 20 spot in baseball, you're going to be begging maybe for those runs, especially with, and that's one of my next questions, what do they do with LSU with Skeens as far as his pitch count and how they handle him tonight?
I think he's going to throw. They announced about an hour ago that one of their better relievers is going to start the game. But Skeens, there's no official word. I am going to bet that he will pitch 30 to 50 pitches if necessary. I mean, you think back to Madison Bumgarner for the Giants in that World Series where he kind of closed it out with, I think, 50 to 70 pitches after pitching a couple of days before. I don't see a scenario where I assume Paul Skeens really wants to pitch. I mean, he's either the number 1 or number 2 overall draft pick right now, projected at various outlets. And he's got to pitch, right? And he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. This is what you come to LSU. This is what you come to the SEC to do, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't see how that doesn't happen. Fascinated to see how Florida's pitching staff handles it. The two-way kid, Caglione, who hit an absolute bomb yesterday, he's pitching for them today. And he's been up and down this year, but he has a lot of arm talent too. So, I mean, we're getting the national title game that we deserve as fans. I mean, these are two talent-laden teams. I mean, the top 3 draft pick in the draft right now are in this game. So college baseball can't ask for anything better, in my opinion.
Again, we're talking to Chris Branch, The Athletic. He writes the Pulse every morning in your newsletter if you subscribe. So the last part of each time you do something every morning, and I was going to ask you this, there's the Trey Turner note, there's NHL draft, there's a argue about what each team or who should pick what. And then you have F1 for Formula One, and then there's also the minor league prospects in baseball. Is there a sport where you need a nudge or someone to kind of make sure you have to ask? It seems like you're pretty well versed in all of them.
No, I feel a sense of responsibility to not ignore it. I mean, there is clearly a hierarchy of interest, just as, you guys live and work in sports. So you know that, I mean, the NFL is going to be a huge driver for us, and that's going to get features, NBA, MLB, but all of these sports, and we, in my opinion, I'm biased, create some of the best journalism around with it. I mean, we have the best F1 writers in America. We have the best women's soccer writers in America, and they're producing this amazing stuff that I believe should be read. So I don't find it. I mean, maybe I'm not going to write 300 words on them every day, but I do believe they deserve space, and we see metrics-wise that people are interested. I mean, it bears it out. I mean, it's like I kind of alluded to earlier, the beauty and the struggle of an all sports newsletter is that all of them are under my purview, and I try my hardest to give everybody the shine they deserve.
Well, no question. I'm glad we had a chance. Appreciate your time to kind of just. I really wanted to promote what you do. It's not get more subscriptions or not. I just. Because there's a lot of name columnists, college football, baseball, as you said, Formula One, golf, whatever. And I just find that your morning newsletter is sneaky good and well written. And does it make sense when I say it's an easy read, it's smooth? Is that the best compliment? Is that the best compliment? Yeah.
It absolutely is. And here's what I strive for every day. And I get a chuckle out of this, is that I am writing to inform, my friends' moms and dads and their friends who might not be as interested in sports. if they can read my newsletter and feel like they are up on sports, then I win. So that is what I'm going for. I write it for them, and then I find it interesting and funny that these hardcore sports fans are reading, enjoying it too, because I worry that I dumb it down too much. But people seem to like it. I really enjoy doing it, and I really appreciate you promoting it. I mean, thank you for the kind words.
No, it's good because it's the only sports website that I prescribe to. I get SI.com too, but I don't have to subscribe to it. And I don't know what I would do. And it's very, very, to me, worth the money and the price. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate your time. Continue. Please do the great work you're doing.
Thank you all for having me on.
Chris Branch with theathletic.com. It's called The Pulse. Every morning you'll see it come through in your email. It's well done. It reminds me of back in the day, right before the email, when Mickey Spagnuolo, who joins us on Thursdays in the Cowboys, you'd get a fax newsletter on the Cowboys news. Back when he was with the Times-Herald, they dissolved or they went out of business. So he started this newsletter. Jerry Jones kind of helped that move along, and you would get that at your fax machine wherever you worked in the morning, kind of like a newspaper in 2 or 3 pages. That's very similar to what you get with The Athletic and The Pulse. All right, when we come back, Cole Patterson, he's the national recruiting analyst for Rivals.com. The Texas 7-on-7 weekend, of course, has come and gone, and really it was towards the end of last week, too. He'll come in. Anyone pop out, or maybe the big names, did they just kind of validate how good they are? That's next. This is 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace. 4th of July is coming up. And you got to be sneaky here. You got to be careful because it's not this weekend, but it's the following Tuesday. And so it all depends on where you work. About is Monday off for you, or is it Monday and Tuesday? We'll be making that decision and what we do to kind of give people a chance to get away for an extended weekend like we've done before. But do you have what you need, the product you want to cook? If, in fact, you have family coming over, friends coming over, if you're going to have something out at the lake or something maybe even in your backyard. Is it a family reunion? What do you need? It's as simple as hamburgers and hot dogs. They have that at Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive. Do you want steaks? They have steaks. They have a butcher shop, full-service butcher shop with pork, poultry, beef, and also seafood. And then the charcoal you need. The pellet fuel if you want that. Every thought you need when it comes to seasonings and marinades. And then even something simple like chips. They have that. And a full-service butcher shop along with a full-service bakery where you get whatever you want, from cookie cakes to pies and cakes and of course, fresh baked bread and kolaches every day. The Bauer family, they run it, they own it, it's locally owned. It's Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The future's bright, the time is now. College is what you make it. It's a late-night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Cole Patterson on Twitter at RivalsCole, national recruiting analyst for Rivals.com, joins us. Craig Smoak, David Smoak on 365 Sports. Cole, thank you very much for your time. Did anybody in particular that maybe you did not know much about jump out during the 7-on-7 tournaments?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, first of all. I'd say Keati Armstrong, a 2025 tight end out of Jasper, really stood out to me. He's a 6'5" tight end that weighs around 240, 250 pounds. Passes the eye test immediately. I think everybody's head turned when he walked out on the field. But really backed it up. He was stretching the field, he was catching passes. Just looked like a totally dominant player. So that's who jumps to my mind immediately.
Cole, for people who don't know about Texas 7-on-7, can you kind of set the stage and kind of the scenery for the whole event? Just the amount of players, the teams, just sort of what's all going on and what you as an analyst and others in the industry are looking at over the course of these few days.
Yeah, for sure. The Texas State 7-on-7 tournament's held down in College Station. And like you said, there's a ton of talent. All the top teams in the state. You're playing, 7-on-7, especially in the spring, you're playing with, these travel squads that play all over the nation. But the one in College Station in June that just wrapped up, that's with your high school. That's with your high school teammates. So I'd say there's more pride, there's more emotion in all those kind of games. Tons of players, tons of talent down there. We're looking, it's a good check for, evaluations, getting, recruiting updates, all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing is really, really, really hot. If you ever find yourself down there, there's tons of fans and obviously family members that are in attendance all up and down the field. So really, really hot. Make sure to wear sunscreen, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's 3 full days of tournament play, a lot of action going on. You kind of see who can separate, in that kind of setting. It's not what you get on Friday nights, but still a really good gauge of, talent, especially at the skill positions.
Cole, how much does maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, NIL even come up in your conversations with high school prospects, whether they have committed or are about to commit or will down the road?
Yeah, it definitely happens a lot more. I wouldn't say a 10. It's probably around, maybe in that 6 to 8 range, maybe around a 7. It's a factor, but I don't think it's the biggest factor in these recruits. Obviously, NIL is probably a bigger factor for the more highly rated guys, the 5-star talents. Whereas, some other underrated guys maybe don't look into it as much. But yeah, it's definitely a factor. It's definitely something that these players are considering, and, the schools are pitching as well.
So one name, and there were a lot of different names that we could talk about, but one name that I saw probably above all others coming out of this weekend was Deion Miller, the wide receiver from Silsbee, class of 2024 upcoming. I know he's got all the big dogs chasing him, but how much bark does he have? He seems like, just a guy people were raving about coming out of this weekend, and previous to that as well, but it sounds like he turned some heads.
Yeah, man. There is one game in particular that I got to see him play. I can't remember the opponent off the top of my head, but they had, obviously the other corner again lined up against them. They had a safety over the top, and they would kind of bring a linebacker to his side. Basically a triple team, just so he wouldn't get open. He still found ways to go up and get the football. Definitely lived up to the hype. I'd say it was either him or, wide receiver Michael Hudson from Lake Belton, probably the two best performers in my opinion. But Miller in particular definitely lived up to the hype. He went at the high point in the football and triple coverage. This is everything you want. Like you said, he definitely has some bark to him.
Well, we've discussed Micah Hudson. He's 25 or 30 miles south of where we are in Waco in Central Texas, an amazing athlete. And, of course, there's this, buildup of Texas Tech, and he was going to visit Texas, and he decided not to. And then maybe that meant – so what are you feeling about how much – right now, if you were to say who has the edge between Texas and Texas Tech, because it seems like the smoke is that Texas Tech has a really solid chance with Micah Hudson.
Yeah, first of all, like I said, great player. Definitely lived up to the hype and everything during the tournament. But yeah, everything I've been hearing from Micah's side of things, from college sources, everything like that points to him committing to Texas Tech. There's some thought he was going to commit on his official visit. There's some thought maybe before the 7-on-7 tournament kicks off. That obviously has not happened yet. Obviously, if you're a Tech, you want him committed. You want him publicly committed. Make that announcement sooner than later. But I don't think there's anything too much to worry about from their perspective. With that said, he did say that he is considering a fall visit during the season to Texas. He stopped by Texas A&M while he was in College Station for a quick little trip there. So there's definitely some competition, but I do think Texas Tech is in a good spot to get that commitment. You just want it to happen sooner rather than later if you're the Red Raiders.
So what's the breakdown on Hudson's game, Cole? I mean, a lot of people have heard his name and maybe don't follow recruiting closely, but they've heard it enough now to be curious. What is it about him that makes him a 5-star talent and coveted by every program across the country?
He's just your well-rounded, prototypical wide receiver. He's not the biggest guy. He's about, 6'1", 6'2", maybe closer to 6'1" there. So not the tallest or biggest guy in the world, but he just finds ways to get open. He's a smooth wide receiver. He creates separation, very technically sound. He can go up and get the ball. He creates separation with ease. The guy that, if you're looking for an NFL comparison, just to, kind of wrap your head around how good he can be or the style of player he is, I always point to Garrett Wilson, another Central Texas guy. Same kind of game. Obviously, probably not as polished right now with Garrett being in the NFL and everything like that, but similar style. You see a lot of his games show up in Micah Hudson's game.
Obviously, Texas wrapping up their weekend, and there'll be some, I guess you could say, fumes from that in a good way, but everybody's waiting. They did get Gibson, the running back, and they also got Kibble, but everyone's waiting on what's going to happen with Colin Simmons, and right here in our backyard, because of the lineage and the fact he's a great player, in Conley's Kobe Black.
Yeah. Colin, all eyes are on Colin Simmons, defensive end out of Duncanville, as you mentioned. Pretty recently, earlier this month, he did kind of come out and say LSU and Texas are the two teams for him, at the top of his list. And it seems like all the momentum, all the smoke is coming out of that Texas visit, that the Longhorns, laid the red carpet. They made a huge impression on him and his family, which isn't unexpected. All these official visits typically go pretty well, but still, Colin is a guy that wants to play in the SEC. Texas obviously moving there next year. They're pitching him on staying home, playing in the SEC, kind of being their guy for this class. They had Arch Manning come in, headline the 23 class. their pitch to him is be that guy for the 24 class. And that's something that's resonating with him. Kobe Black, as you mentioned, a DB out of Waco Connolly. Another guy, Texas has always been really high up on his list. A&M up there. He's got some connections to Oklahoma State, all that kind of stuff. But Texas is the team to beat as well. I do have future cast predictions for Kobe Black to Texas. Collins obviously generating some hype there as well. Two guys Texas is really hoping to get in the class. Again, sooner or later, you want these guys in the boat before the season, if at all possible. And it sounds like they did the right things there in both of those recruitments.
So, of course, this is a showcase for skill guys, and the quarterbacks in particular get a lot of shine. So who are some guys, and maybe not even the obvious candidates, who are just some guys that stood out to you from the quarterback position over the weekend?
Yeah, the 2025 quarterback out of San Antonio, Ty Hawkins, really impressed me. Not the biggest guy, probably 5'11", but he's got a really good arm talent. Baseball player that kind of shows up in his style of play. Could throw from different platforms, different arm angles. Really talented guy that just committed to TCU this weekend, actually. And then another guy, DJ Lagway out of Willis. He's a guy that, if you're a Texas high school football fan, recruiting fan, you know about him. He's top 50 player in the nation, committed to Florida. Another guy that just passed the eye test, 6'2", big build. Kind of looks like a tight end, that thick frame. But he's got a big arm, and that shows up in these settings. So those are two guys that really stuck out to me.
Did you, Nate Palmer, USC's trying to get one of two or maybe even others because they're in on Miller, I think, as well, who's just, as you mentioned, does a lot of things. But Nate Palmer, who was at College Station, transferred to Decatur, has been interested in USC. Obviously, Taylor Tatum at Longview is interested in USC, Longview, in Oklahoma and a couple of others. Were you surprised that Palmer pulled the trigger with TCU, not USC?
Yeah, I do think that because they also got a commitment from Jeremy Payne out of Hightower it was either the very next day or a couple of days afterwards. So there's two running backs getting that. It's obviously big for TCU, but as you mentioned, USC, it seemed like it was always high on his list. TCU was able to get him in for an official visit, kind of sell him on their offense. It's closer to home, and as you mentioned, he's in Decatur now, so he's already in that area, which I think was a big selling point. But still, USC has definitely done a good job in Texas. They're in the mix for Jalen Miller. As you mentioned, Ty Anthony Smith, the linebacker out of Jasper's another guy. And they have Brian Jackson committed out of McKinney. So Lincoln Riley, he's using the connections he built at Oklahoma and all of that to his advantage on the West Coast.
I saw this, and because of Matt Rule's connection to Baylor, but he's now at Nebraska, and they're having a better run, and it's early. They won't usually end up in a top 20 or 25 class, but Kewan Lacey, the running back, pretty big, 6', 205 running back out of Lancaster, who had interest from SEC schools, among others. What do you know about him?
Yeah, I actually saw Lacey at their spring game at Lancaster. I guess that was back in May. As you mentioned, big dude, big running back, but they had him lined up at wide receiver on the outside, and he had this one particular catch against Corian Gibson, a highly rated defensive back in that spring game. So it kind of showed off his receiving ability that, he's kind of an all-around back rather than one-dimensional between the tackles. So big for Matt Rule to get that kind of talent up into Nebraska. And they're doing a really good job. I know back down in Waco, y'all are very familiar with him and his recruiting prowess in the state of Texas. He's doing a good job in the state of Texas and Nebraska. He hired Garrett McGuire, Joey McGuire's son, on staff. He kind of led the charge for Lacey. They're in the mix for Ernest Campbell, the speedster that runs a 10-2 100-meter. So they're definitely making Texas a point of emphasis.
Both are about the same size. Jarrett Gibson from Bradenton, Florida, IMG, and Christian Clark. Texas had Bijan come out of Arizona. They've done well in that state. What's the difference between Gibson and Clark, in your opinion, at running back that they picked up in the last 4 or 5 days?
I think they do complement each other really well. Gibson's the guy that's been on, recruiting radars for a while now. He's at IMG Academy. He's a player that Deshaun Schwartz really zeroed in on. They were in the mix for Taylor Tatum early on. Brian Jackson on the team has him high up on his list, but Gibson was the guy that Deshaun Schwartz really, really wanted in his class, and they were able to pull him out of Florida. Second year in a row they've gone into Florida and pulled the number one running back out of that state when they got Cedric Baxter last year. I think he's the guy that, can be used in more pass down situations, things like that. Whereas, Christian Clark, not a big back, by any means. They're about the same size, but not the bruiser. But he's a guy that can complement him on, first and second downs, can be used in, quick run game. But they're going to use them both. Texas has done a good job. They've done a pretty good job with multiple running back sets with Roschon Johnson, B.J. Robinson last year. I'm sure we'll see a lot of that with Cedric Baxter and, all the guys they have in that running back room. So I think it's just choice, just stacking up at that position.
Baylor right now with just 9 commitments. They did pick up a commitment over the weekend in the offensive lineman from Evangel, Dave Aranda and company, putting that together. Right now, the gem of the class is Jaden Porter, the phenomenal wide receiver out of Lorena. But they also picked up Chris Wokema out of the Arlington area. Your thoughts about Wokema, and also did you get to see Porter? Was he at the 7-on-7 with Lorena?
Yeah, I didn't get a good chance at him this year, but I do remember last year, the same 7-on-7 tournament. Porter was one of the standouts. The guy that goes up and gives the football. That's the thing I remember seeing about Porter, is the guy that, it doesn't matter if he was, in individual coverage, if there's a guy, safety over the top. He was going to go up and get the football. I think that's why Baylor prioritized him into getting him in that class. And Wilcom, a DB I've gotten really familiar with up here in the DFW. Had a good program here in the Arlington area. A guy that I think is pretty versatile in the defensive backfield. He can come in and play the run in the box. He can drop back in coverage. He can roam around the secondary. A really underrated guy, I think, for Baylor, especially in that Dave Aranda defense, who puts so much pressure on those DBs to make plays. I think he could definitely take advantage of that in Waco.
All right, Cole, last question. Which of the 4 incoming Big 12 schools, Cincinnati, which is in that very fertile area of Ohio, UCF, which could probably just stay in their own backyard at Florida with all the talent there, Houston, which we know the city of Houston is probably the best city for overall recruiting in Texas, and then Brigham Young. Which of those 4 schools do you think benefits the most recruiting-wise entering the Big 12?
That's a great question. So, like you said, they all have different selling points. Cincinnati, obviously playing the college football playoff. UCF, good talent area with Gus Malzahn running the show there. I would say Houston, though. Maybe that's part of the Texas bias coming out, but they're really taking advantage on the recruiting trail. They were able to get a couple of 4-star receivers last year. And Jonah Wilson, they put from Texas. Matthew Golden, that's a guy that Big 12 schools, SEC schools were after. And then this recently, they literally, as soon as I got back from the College Station, they flipped Maurice Williams, a 4-star safety out of Shadow Creek from LSU. So they're rolling right now. I think they're using that Big 12 pitch to their advantage. They're like, hey, we're going to be in a power conference. You can stay home, play in a major city like Houston. So that's where I would lean, but definitely going to see an uptick in recruiting for all 4 schools, in my opinion.
All right, last thing. Michael Uni, the offensive lineman from Copper's Cove, he's in the same district. We do high school games with that Central Texas district. It's down to Alabama, Georgia, and Michigan. Is that right? I don't know if he could go wrong with any of those 3. Any thoughts about what he might do?
Yeah, he was actually a guy I went down and saw last year at Copper's Cove. A guy that when they played in Waco Midway, actually, a guy that really impressed me. Another player, I think I've said this term a lot of this call, just passes the eye test. Obviously, if you see him, he's a mountain of a man. He's a guy that Kyle Flood at Texas prioritized from the beginning. And he's one of the best O-line coaches in the country, in my opinion. So it says a lot about his game. The buzz right now is around Michigan. He took that official visit pretty recently. The Wolverines are doing a really good job actually recruiting Texas to O-line. They got Blake Frazier out of Austin already committed. Bennett Warren's a guy that they're really high on as well. So I think Michigan's the team to beat there. Hard to count out Nick Saban or Kirby Smart for guys that they want, but it seems like Michigan's a team that's going to win out for the Copper's Cove linemen.
Cole, great job. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on the role with Rivals.com. We appreciate you, and have a great day.
Thanks so much. Looking forward to being back on.
Yes, sir. Cole Patterson, Rivals.com, their national recruiting advisor, and he joined us on many things, and we bounced around. And a lot of you, thank you for the questions. When I asked you on the chat room, we didn't get to hit on all of them, but we did get to hit on a lot of them, and hope you got the answers you needed. One thing I noticed, and again, there are schools that are well out of the top 10 or 15 because they don't have a lot of recruits yet or commitments yet, including, like, for example, if you go down when Texas is like 50-something, 52, TCU just got a bump. They're right, 44. Auburn's 45. You know they're going to be way, way up. Oklahoma's 40. You know they're going to jump way, way up. A&M's 28. That's going to get better. Florida State 23. That will get much higher too. But Stanford has 24 commitments, just throwing them out there, with 7 4-stars, 17 3-stars, a lot of commitments for Stanford in the top 10. Probably won't end up there, but a pretty nice start with what they're doing with Stanford and their football program. All right, when we come back, much more to get to. Kalani Sitake spoke to the Brigham Young football team as they get that countdown towards the Big 12. We'll have a note or two about that. Also, Deion Sanders with surgery on his leg. The blood clot's an issue, and what he's been through with that, plus much more. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Petty Clinic is right now offering an exceptional weight management program, body sculpting product called semaglutide. It's also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. In fact, the other day I was on the Stairmaster, and they have all these flat screens at the gym, and I noticed that there was a commercial, and it was that for what they do. And Dr. Petty right here in Waco can help you with that. FDA-approved weight management medication, once-a-week injections of the powerful medication offering an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. Addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has clinical research proof of reducing stroke and heart attack risk and blood pressure issues, if you have that too. If you're like most men who have that little stubborn fat as you get older, you can't get rid of it, semaglutide could be for you. Affordable, highly effective. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff also, of course, offering any kind of treatment for low issues with testosterone with that as well. It's PettyClinicLowT.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Aaron Duvall, owner, Texas Beef House. Why did you get into this business?
We kind of were born into it, and it's been for several generations. Our family's been in the beef business, the ranching business, and we've specifically got into the beef business back in about 2015 when me and my son decided to form Texas Beef House and sell directly to the public.
Aaron, everyone knows about Wagyu and how elite that is when it comes to beef. What separates you from anyone else that may do this in this type profession?
We selected out Wagyu mainly because it's such a quality beef, and it's consistent. Some beef, some breeds, you may have a good animal every now and then, but Wagyu produces really consistently good beef every time.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. If you haven't been there in quite some time, you're missing out on the improvements for our members. New flooring in the weight room and locker rooms, new paint and mirrors added in the weight room and group exercise room, with more new machines arriving over the next few months. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines on spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alex Botch, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. There's sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. The amenities are great. 16 tennis courts plus an 1,100-seat stadium court, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Visit our website, wacotennis.com, or visit Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. At 4:45, we will hear from Pat Nunley, who joined us many times in the last 3 years since we've been on the air with men's basketball, color analyst for Baylor Radio for men's basketball, but a former player. And his name was listed. Max Muncy was one of the names, Dodgers star. Also, JD Walton, former Baylor center, All-American center. Those are some of the names going into the Hall of Fame. That goes, I think it's early November. We'll have Pat Nunley at 4:45, but also the timing of Baylor's men's basketball roster pretty much now is set. It took some patience, but it's set. His thoughts about that, but also the call that he got from Baylor University on the fact he's going into the Athletics Hall of Fame. Now, there's the Deion Sanders story. It's been well chronicled that Deion has had toes removed. He's also then been battling some blood clots. There's a picture. This came off his Instagram, his wife Tracy Edmonds' Instagram page, but he had blood clots removed. I mean, this was life-threatening in many, many ways. Blood clot in his left thigh, another one in the same leg below his knee. Said he had blood clots in the right leg the doctors are going to get to soon. There's the picture posted. He's in the hospital bed. It has been a hell of a year, since the time he got the job at Colorado, the recruiting, the transfer portal, players coming in and out, and there he is to get that done. And for a guy that used to be as fast as anyone has ever played the game of pro football and electric with his feet and his legs, here is now Deion trying to keep his body intact enough to be able to walk around. You've seen him in the cart, the wheelchair, crutches, limping, and hopefully he does get himself in better condition now where he's able to get around better.
Well, there was a bit of news coming out of that, the fact they discovered a new clot.
Mm-hmm.
So, the surgery was successful based on everything they said after the fact, but apparently the physicians had found another one. So I guess it's, great that he got that looked at, and who knows what could have happened there. That could have been a bad deal had that not been found out. So, apparently he doesn't need an additional surgery, or I guess this is an additional surgery than what was expected, but he's out of the hospital as of yesterday, and I guess they'll work on that new blood clot, and all the other stuff seems to have been taken care of. So, it just seems like a massive headache, and I'm sure it's been just really tough emotionally for he and his family just to have to deal with, being in a hospital and going through surgeries and things like that. It's not fun to do that, even if it's something routine. So when you're talking blood clots and you're talking about a guy who's already had toes taken off and things of that nature, it's really scary. And so good to see that he's in great spirits, and we'll be hopefully back to 100% here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's been painful at times, and I've seen some of the interviews where he really kind of opens up about it, and it has gotten worse, and there's still more to be done, as Craig, you mentioned, but they did get a couple of them, at least it appears, out, And thank God, because if you don't even know there's a third one, the third one could at any time just block everything you have, an artery, whatever it might be, and it may be too late. So good luck with you, Deion Sanders. And I know he's a polarizing figure. There's some people don't like him because he's cocky and brash, and he was when he was at Florida State. But as good a cornerback who has ever played the game, and with Atlanta, with the 49ers, with the Cowboys, he ended up playing with Washington. Of course, his career ended because of the fact he could no longer run like he used to.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, that he's polarizing, but I mean, I don't really think that context is needed when we're talking about a guy getting blood clots removed. I mean, if you're sitting there going like, I don't care, he's Deion, I don't like him, over a story about the guy's health, then screw you. Quite frankly, I'm not the biggest Deion fan, but I don't think it needs that context just to, simply root for a guy to not die from a blood clot suddenly. So, yeah, I'm sure there's probably some of that out there, but I don't know. I'm a human being, and I'm glad that that he was able to get something taken care of that needed to be taken care of, that was threatening his health, and in the process of that, they didn't seem to get. They got the clots they needed to get, but they also discovered one. So that's, again, like we said earlier, fortunate, and good luck to him. And we'll see him here very soon on the sidelines, hopefully being able to bounce around and move around, and won't even remember that this story was taking place.
Garrett, you don't have to put up the graphics or the tweets or whatever, but to kind of summarize how we started this show today, Matt Brown was an incredible guest, as he's been, on what's happening, the letter from San Diego State to the Mountain West Conference. We had that. He discussed it. Tomorrow he'll have the response. And he said it was not terse. It was something that said, okay, thank you very much for all your time. And who knows how this ends if June 30th becomes that moment where San Diego State has to blank or get off the pot to avoid doubling the exit fee, or if, in fact, that letter they wrote will be held to law. As we discussed, and I had a conversation with a business attorney, Matt had several, about how that can be interpreted. So we'll see. That's one of the timelines. The other one are the 4 schools, the incoming schools. You don't still have these, do you, Garrett? Of Houston, UCF, Brigham Young, and Cincinnati. All of them are having lead-up countdowns, as we mentioned even late last week, but all of them are having some sort of special type parties and events, virtual and in person, late Friday night, entering July 1st, the official entry date of those 4 incoming schools into the Big 12. College baseball, World Series Game 3, and we've mentioned a lot of the commitments, and of course we just had Cole Patterson on with that. The one good news in men's basketball in the Big 12 is West Virginia able to keep Chris Krissa. He stays after Kirk Krissa, after he was flirting with the transfer portal by hiring an interim men's basketball coach who was on staff with Bob Huggins. They've been able to avoid losing him to anybody else, but it remains to be seen. Did anyone see the late transfer portal with is it Quinney, the guard from Alabama? Here we are, it's June 26th. He entered the transfer portal. Of course, they've picked up some too. I saw Jeff Goodman with the Field of 68 saying, shouldn't there be, and I know this, everyone has an answer here, but how late is too late for the transfer portal? And that's something that we could go on forever. Not everybody's going to agree. They try to pigeonhole that time, but he entered, Quinney the guard, entered the transfer portal, I think it was yesterday, and all he did was ask the question about how late is too late. There is no late. You enter the portal, although they've tried to at least put some dates and timelines to when you can or when you should.
Yeah, Javon Quinterly, he's a graduate transfer, so he's free to do what he wants to do. And, yeah, I mean, there should probably be some cap of some sort to, prevent a guy from damn near August 1st deciding, hey, I'm going to go move schools. I do think that's a bit ridiculous. I mean, I'm all for player freedom and movement, and Lord knows they've got more than they've ever had before in that regard. And, you've earned the right to have a bit more freedom as somebody who got their degree. But don't know the reasons behind the timing of it all. But, yeah, to sit there at almost August, be deciding that now's the time that you want to go ahead and bail just seems really sort of strange. Maybe it's just something tugging at him. I don't know, because that's just, I think that you would have thought that out by now, but who knows what's going on in someone's life that dictates the timing of certain decisions like that. So, yeah, interesting there.
All right, when we come back, Pat Nunley, Baylor men's basketball color analyst on Baylor's roster now that they have everything, it appears, set in stone, although what we just mentioned with what happened with Alabama, and then also his induction in November into the Baylor Athletics Hall of Fame. And this is 365 Sports.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. When it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
This is 365 Sports. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
Back last week, Baylor University Athletics announcing their next Hall of Fame class will be inducted on Friday, November 3rd on the Baylor campus. And one of them, JD Walton's going to join us at 5:30, the former Baylor All-American football player and played with the Denver Broncos. He'll join us at 5:30. Pat Nunley, part of our show many times. I see him at the gym. Former Baylor men's basketball player and also color analyst. Pat, first of all, congratulations. Are you going in as a combo deal, kind of like a fast food restaurant? And obviously, we know you were a star in basketball. You downplay that, but congratulations, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, guys, it is the honor of a lifetime. It is. And I'm a little overwhelmed, honestly. I never expected it, never thought about it. The call that I got from Walter Abercrombie to tell me that I've been selected was completely out of the blue. So I still haven't got my arms around it, but I am honored, elated, beyond belief. It's really even beyond words. So to answer your question, Smokey, I don't know. Maybe it's the combo deal. I'm not going to overthink it. All I know is I've been selected, and there's a committee that's charged with all the criteria and making the selection. And so I just, again, can't even find the words to describe certainly how I feel today, but how I felt that moment Walter called me and told me. In fact, I was so stunned that there was silence, and Walter was going, Pat, are you there? Are you there? Did I lose you? Did we get disconnected? So it's wonderful. It's been a great couple of days for sure.
Is there any, you say you didn't expect it. So when you get a call from Walter, of course, we all know he works with the alumni inside the Letterman's, letter winners, I guess it's under the umbrella. So when his name showed up on your phone, the number, you had no clue, right?
No clue. Zero clue. In fact, I was out back washing windows at my house. And it's about 100 degrees outside. And I get this call from Walter. I'm going, what does Walter want from me on a Saturday afternoon? And again, he told me, and I thought the heat's gotten me. I'm delirious. Like I'm hallucinating right now. Because I can't believe I heard what I think I heard. And then very quickly after that, I got a call from J-Mo to congratulate me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I confirmed with him that I had not dreamed the whole thing up. It was a great day. I'll never forget it. But it was a call out of the blue.
Pat, just, I guess, who were the first person you told, and what was it like, I guess, being able to spread the word, and what was some of that reaction around your family and loved ones?
Yeah, good question. I came inside and, again, sort of stunned and walking around in the daze, and I told my wife. And then, this was like a couple of weeks ago, and so it had not been officially announced, and I wanted to be careful about that. So I was very selective, and, of course, I let my family know. But I really didn't tell anybody else. And honestly, I spent the better part of a couple of weeks just introspective and thought a lot. And, because 41 years doing radio and then 4 years as a player, that's a long time. And I just was flooded with memories. I thought about people. I thought about the journey. I thought about the good times and the bad times in Baylor basketball. I thought about the good times and bad times in my life. And I just it was really almost good that I couldn't tell anybody because I needed 2 weeks to myself to think about it. And I did a lot, believe me, and had a lot to think about, all positive. And so I had to be selective, but it worked out that it was better that I needed to be because I had an awful lot to just chew on and try to digest before they officially announced it.
All right, so I'm going to move forward in November. I don't know how it goes down. I know there's a dinner and there's I mean, can you get through the acceptance speech?
I don't know. That's another good question. You guys ask really good questions. I don't know. I'm going to start thinking about what in the world I can say, and the challenge is going to be not to stay up there too long.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about. I mean, again, 45 years. It'll be 47 when we start the season next year. It's a long time to reduce into 3 or 4 minutes, but they'll find a way. But yeah, I'll be honest with you guys too. I was emotional. I was very emotional, not necessarily with Walter, but I had to choke back a little bit. I did. Just totally, completely unexpected. Never even thought that was in the cards. Never thought about it, whether I was or I wasn't. And I look at the roster of Hall of Fame members, and oh my goodness! I mean, you mentioned JD Walton, Max Muncy is coming in, Vinny's in there, Terry's in there. I mean, Mike Singletary is in there. So I look at that list and I'm going, I'm not sure I belong, but you know what? I'm not going to second guess that. if I'm in, I'm in. Somebody decided, and I'm going.
Yeah, don't talk him out of it now.
Yeah, no, yeah, don't.
No,
yeah.
no.
You know, the question I've had you, and we've had you on this show, or even when we were at the radio station, a bunch about basketball, about Baylor, all the games and tournaments and the championship, whatever. But I've never asked you, your career at Baylor ended in 1981. You began broadcasting like a year later. How did that go about? I've never asked you that question.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I graduated in May of 81. And I'm going to start law school in February of 82. I'd been accepted. So I'm working at First Federal Savings and Loan on Austin Avenue for J. Harry Jeans. And I'm just down there working. I can't even remember what I was doing. And one day, you talk about a call out of the blue. I got a call from Mr. Fallon, Frank Fallon, who had done play-by-play. Dave South was his color commentator for years, for all the years that I was at Baylor. Playing, and Pat, this is Frank Fallon. Oh, hi, Mr. Fallon. He said, look, I'm coming over from KWTX to start the Baylor Radio Network for athletics. And I was wondering if you would help me start it by doing color commentary on the broadcast.
Mm.
And again, stunned silence. And I, Pat, are you there? Are you there? I said, well, Frank, sure, of course. Yeah. And so we had that conversation, what's involved. And along the way, I said, well, Frank, just curious, does this pay anything? He said, well, Pat, no, it doesn't. And in fact, that's why I'm calling you. So off we went. And I'll never, there are a handful of calls I'll never forget. That's one of them. Because this guy at this time, as you guys may know, he was legendary already. He was a national sports broadcasting figure. He was as good as it gets. And all of a sudden, I'm going to be sitting next to as good as it gets in the business. And I'd rarely spoken into a microphone before. And he took a chance. And, I was the right guy only because I was willing to work for free and I knew the program. And then off we went. And, here I am all these many, many years later.
It's fantastic. So now Baylor appears to have their roster set. It took a lot of patience because they had to wait. Adam Flagler, they had to wait with obviously Jalen Bridges, among others. And they knew who was coming in as incoming freshmen. And then there was this or there was that. In the end, have you even had time to kind of look at who they are and kind of like what the ingredients are on this pizza for Scott Drew and his staff?
Yeah, I've looked at it, and the one thing you can rest assured of with Scott is he's going to have players. He's going to have guys. And there's, as you guys know as well, there's a lot more to it than just that. You need chemistry. You got to find the right guys. And, there's a real difference when you get out on the floor and there's a different colored jersey and a crowd and all that. But, yeah, I think the roster to me looks good. I was over there in, I guess a couple of weeks ago. My grandson was in Coach Drew's camp. I went over there and just said hello to the coaches and watched camp a little bit. And this is June. Normally these guys are walking around in sandals and, their feet are kicked up on the desk. These guys, it was frenetic. These guys are running around like crazy, trying to work the transfer portal. Like you said, is Bridges coming? Is he going? What else is out there? What holes do we have to fill? They don't know. What's it going to take to fill them with NIL and all of that? So it was crazy. And it's just a new day for those coaches. But I do think they've finally settled in, and it's a good roster. I think it's heavily guard laden, which is, I think, the way Scott has built his programs. Really good guards who can really score. And I think that's what they've got coming back. I think they're a little better defensively at the guard spot. They needed that. And they've got some rim protection with the new kid coming in. Missy, I think, is his name. I'll get that right when we've got to broadcast the game. But Ajanwana, not sure what we get back with JTT. But at the end of the day, it's a good roster with really good players. The McDonald's All-American, a top 30 guard. So, they'll get the guys. The question is, what can you do with them? And what did everybody else get? Because the transfer portal changes everything.
Pat, what were your impressions of just being around Keontae George there for a few months? It was a short stay, but that was expected. I mean, he was a guy that you knew when they recruited him, he could very well be a lottery pick. He ends up just outside of the lottery going to Utah. So I guess your thoughts on, his opportunity now in the NBA to carry the Baylor banner along with a lot of other guys. And, I mean, this NBA I guess, pool of players that Scott Drew suddenly has when you look at it. I mean, it's historical from a Baylor perspective, the amount of guys in the league that are also going to have impacts as well. Just your kind of thoughts summarizing all of that and Keontae George in particular.
Yeah, and that's going to continue, Craig. I mean, he's bringing guys in that can go to the league. And there are a number of guys on his roster now that will, I think, make that same move. First of all, about Keontae, I liked him as a person. I thought he was a good kid. He was kind. I think he was respectful in everything that he did. By all accounts, he was a really good teammate. So I'm glad to see this for him. And all I know really is what I read, NBA scouts have to say about him, other coaches have to say about him. And I think he's got a great shot. I heard somebody say, it may have been Bill Raftery, tell me one day before a game, we're doing a Baylor game, and he's there doing TV. He said he thought that Keontae George would be a better pro than he was a college player. I thought that made sense. He's got some developing to do. I think he's got to defend. He just has to. I think it's a little bit of a myth that they don't defend in the NBA. They defend more than you think they do. I mean, that's how Deion Mitchell has made himself. He's offensively, he's come around, but defensively, he came in and made his mark on the league and on his team by what he does on the defensive end. So I think Keontae's got a great shot. He does some really special things offensively. He's good size, and I think he's got a good attitude. He is a hard worker. So I'm his biggest fan. And I hope it goes well for him because I think he does deserve it. And this is the moment for him. This is what he's been waiting for his whole life, and I'm just glad it happened for him.
I know that the roster is kind of still, I'm trying to learn it myself, but the guard out of VCU and the guard out of Toledo, Ray J, you mentioned that they have a bunch of guards, and Scott Drew and guards, that just seems to go. Used to be always the big dudes inside. Either one of them, someone that, this is going to be like interchangeable type parts that they have, where last year they were kind of stuck in some ways?
I think so. I still think that by the time you get to conference, it's an 8 or 9 guy rotation. I know Scott said earlier in the year last year that it could be more than that, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is, right? So it's up for grabs in the backcourt, but I think they needed a done that kind of guy, and they got that with Dennis from Toledo, and they needed some help defensively, and I think they got that with Jaden Nunn. And then the other guys that are back there are guys that are just really good guards. Walters is a guy that's maybe ultimately a pro. Little may go into that category as well. So they're loaded there. It's just going to be interesting to see how they play together. And the guy that continues to just fly under the radar is Langston Love. And he's going to be healthy. He'll be 100% come basketball season if he's not already. And I think he's going to surprise some people. So it's another guy that's going to get minutes. He needs minutes. And then with a very young but rim protecting kind of front line, and then Jalen Bridges back, this could be a really good team. I think it will be.
The last thing, Pat, again, congratulations on the call and the emotions and the raw of how you shared it even with us, and you could feel it in your voice and also in how you told the story. Langston Love is a thick kid. I mean by that, he has some physicality. It's just obviously he had to battle the injuries the first year and on and off a little bit last year, but I think that they need some of that as well with what you mentioned, with what the grit that Nunn brings to the table on the defensive end. Yeah,
and you think back, and it's a little hazy to me right now, but there were 2 or 3 games this past year where we don't win the game without Langston Love. It may have even been Kansas, where one of those games, big game, high profile, he scored 9 in a row. and really impacted the game. So we've seen glimpses of what he can do, and he still was never 100% last year. I think he'll be a 100% with the season this year. And there's a role for him because he is big. You know, the guards Baylor had last year were a little undersized, very effective, very good, obviously, but not big, strong kids. And Love fits that mold. And I don't know much about none other than athletically he's gifted and he's got a defensive mindset. So they filled some holes for sure, but Love is going to be a factor, I really believe, finally, now that he's healthy.
Congratulations, Pat. We'll see you soon. Thanks for your time, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Pat Nunley, broadcast analyst for Baylor men's basketball. And you could just almost hear, even a few days later, the emotions when he got that call. Stunned, the rawness of it, how, just sharing exactly how he felt.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, and I'm by no means a Baylor historian or, legacy or anything like that, but when I heard Pat Nunley's name, I didn't blink twice just because I know, what he's meant to a lot of people here and just having seen or heard him over the years. That didn't come as a shock to me, but, you don't look at yourself the same way other people look at you sometimes, right? So he clearly didn't think that was something that was headed his way, and that makes it that much cooler that it was such a surprise for him. And can only imagine, like my favorite part when the draft and stuff, I don't necessarily, I didn't enjoy the NBA draft when they had, the family interview after every single pick. I felt like they didn't really talk about what was actually going on. It was all, extracurricular stories and stuff, but I do love when you are able to go into, the homes and see some of the behind-the-scenes and the reaction stuff. So, that's why I asked him hey, how'd your wife react? Or because I just find that so cool, the people that know you best and they know what matters to you and what's important to you. And so I can only imagine just, what that moment was like for he and his wife and for he and his other loved ones. So that's really awesome. And that's a great class that they've put together. As you mentioned, Max Muncy and really Pat are kind of the headliners. I know JD Walton as well, who we'll be talking to here in a second. But, good thoughts on basketball as well as always. And I was looking at a mock draft yesterday, and these are all out very early. There's a whole year to go. But Jacoby Walter's a top 15 pick on multiple mock drafts already and hasn't even, dribbled a basketball on campus officially yet, I don't think. Or maybe he has by now, but you know what I mean. He's incoming and hadn't even played a game yet, but they're already looking at the potential for a 4th straight lottery-type pick or at least a 4th straight first-rounder, which would just be freaking amazing. I mean, that would be an amazing accomplishment when the record was 2, when you set that 2 years ago. Then you made it 3 this year with Keontae George, and very well could make it 4, and then beyond that, who the heck knows? But I love that the NBA side of things are coming together because that's just such a nice recruiting tool to have. And when you're not dealing with bukus of NIL like some other programs, I mean, I know that they can get it when they need it and where they need it and all that, but when it's not just willy-nilly, like you can spend whatever you want to without any restrictions whatsoever, what else are you hanging your hat on? Well, you're hanging your hat on a national championship. You're hanging your hat on Big 12 championships. You can say all that, but now you can also include the NBA part of it as well and say, look, we're putting guys in the first round nearly every single year now at this point. If you look at Scott Drew's draft history, there was a 5-year gap until a couple of years ago where they didn't have anybody picked for 4 or 5 straight drafts. I don't know if you remember that.
When I moved here in 2010, it was mainly the big guys. It was mainly, some of the what you call high-level 4 or 5-star big men. And it was everything was built around them. And then I can't remember his name, Garrett. Tristan Clark. Big post player, big physical presence inside. I'll never forget how Baylor basketball changed. He went down right before a game in January before somebody in the Big 12, and they inserted all the little what I call guards. And from that point on, guards that have been flooding to Baylor.
Well, when I got here, Pierre Jackson was right off the heels like Perry Jones and Quincy Acey, and those guys went and had whatever kind of careers. But Perry Jones was a first rounder and didn't really pan out. But then when I arrived here, you had Pierre Jackson, but he was never really an NBA guy. Yep. I mean, he bounced in and out, but he mostly played overseas. Corey Jefferson never really hung on in the NBA. Had some opportunities though. And they had Taurean Prince a couple years later, and Taurean Prince has been in the league since he got drafted back in 2016. So he's headed into year 7 now at this point, which is you know, a major departure from what kind of had been the case. And then it was 5 years, guys.
Yep.
They didn't have a draft pick after Taurean Prince for 5 years. Not a single guy.
And Prince was kind of underrated, and turned out he's still playing. Yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up, you know, a lottery pick. But, you know, then it was 5 years, and then all of a sudden you had your Davion Mitchell and your Jared Butler. But Mitchell, as far as a first-rounder, starting that streak now where you've had the absence of 5 years and now 3 straight years with a first-rounder and probably potentially 4 next year. So, yeah, that part of it's all come together, and it's really hard to kind of look around the program and find a major area where they haven't evolved and become, you know, one of the premier type of programs, you know, across the board in the country. So that's very cool to see that.
All right, and they are loading up on the guards with Jacoby Walter, the next incoming guard, as Craig mentioned, in what he brings to the table. All right, we have a guest not till 5:30, so we have an opening right here. We haven't done this in a while. We're not going to take the calls yet, but what we will do is open up the chat room to your questions you have on college football and the landscape. What questions do you have, or if you have an opinion that you've been wanting to share with us, please do it. You don't have to do a super chat, although we appreciate that whenever we possibly get them. It's, again, 254-339-1122 is the text line. The chat room, I'll have it monitored. Questions you have for us, you would like for us, either Craig or me or both of us to answer, we would love to get those from you. Connor Johnson was asking about once the Pac-12 deal is done and whatever is their situation, will we continue to cover them? Yes, because we cover college football. We've had analysts and others and writers and columnists, and even when Graham Harrell was at USC, we had him on the show because, yes, that's what we do. That's what we'll do no matter what their future might be.
Yeah, I mean, this didn't start out as intentionally like pro Big 12, you know, or that was never like, hey, let's be like the Big 12, you know, nothing like that. It was just that realignment with Texas and OU happened pretty much right at the very beginning, and then USC, UCLA after that. And so it's just kind of been a recurring story unintentionally in the headlines as far as we're concerned, but it's been fascinating and interesting. It's obviously brought a lot of eyes and ears at various times. So, yeah, anything realignment we'll still cover. I can't promise you that we'll talk about it with as much fervor, you know, when the story becomes like, what does the Big Ten do in 10 years? Like, I don't feel like we're going to talk about that every day, something that far out. I know others probably will because realignment's interesting, but, you know, the stuff that's at the forefront and that matters and could change, you know, in the near future, absolutely be all over that. But I know that there will automatically probably be this pivot once the dust settles of, well, when the ACC falls, like I don't mind talking about that from time to time, but as far as like covering it or talking about it on a near daily basis, like with the Pac-12 stuff, like no, I don't think we'll be doing that, but we'll talk about it as it warrants.
Yeah, and I mean, when the Big Ten had their explosive moment last summer, and of course the SEC with Texas and Oklahoma, the differences between those there was an end line. There was an ending.
There's a reason.
There was a reason, and now we will wait on what happens over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever when it comes to San Diego State, which could be even this week, and or the Pac-12, and then whatever the reaction follow-up and whatever else happens, we'll get to that as well. Send us your questions or your comments. It could be about this show. It could be, and hopefully it's about college football. One that you've always wanted us to ask or answer, or you give your opinion. We would love to hear from you. This is 365 Sports.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments and financial advisor Chuck Verno, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
On the chat room, we asked for you to send a question or opinion on college football, and that opens up the door to Pandora's box, whatever it might be. Ben DeJet, has A&M stayed the exact same team in the SEC? Obviously, they are covered with a higher regard, but they seemingly were always ranked in the Big 12 but could never win. They still appear to be underwhelming. It's a great question. Yeah. In a lot of ways, you could pick at that in different ways. They had the Johnny Manziel year, and they were able to take advantage of that, obviously moving to the SEC, and he was the perfect, starter kid. They had a lot of momentum the last couple of years when it comes to the recruiting, and last year was a dud. They seem to be, and I think this is fair, they've had their runs across the time. R.C. Slocum has had, of course, a lot of success. But they do seem to be, they have not met expectations. And that might not be just because they were expected to contend for a national championship with the number 1 class, et cetera, but that might even be when they're supposed to be a bowl team. I don't know. Are they the same team as they were for a lot of years in the Big 12? I think that answer might be yes as of now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Johnny football year is that was over a decade ago now. So if you want to feel old, go right ahead, because it makes me feel old to think about that. But, yeah, we passed the decade mark of Johnny's Heisman Trophy win. Is that pretty crazy to think about
it's hard to explain. That's a long time. Yeah,
2012 when he won that trophy. So here we are coming up on the 12th anniversary in a year from now. But, Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because I do think it kind of depends on where you're looking. Like, financially, are they better? Well, of course. Exposure, like you pointed out, are they better? Yes. As far as, though, like actual accomplishments, and let's leave it at just purely football, I think they're about the same as where they were. Yeah, I mean, I think they're about in the same spot. Like, on any given year, they might be up towards the top part of the list, and they might actually be, like, one of the better teams. And then, on any other given year, they might just be sort of middle of the pack to outright disappointing like they were last year, flirting with even making a bowl game. So, yeah, I mean, I think the thing with them is they just have so much in the coffers and so much backing and so much passion from that fan base that is very unique to A&M that, and they're a very large school, second, to Texas as far as, when you think about, some states don't have a major flagship. Some states have a couple of them, and I think the state of Texas has a couple with those two and various other big schools. But, they kind of are in the same spot they've sort of always been. Yeah, outside of just the stuff that automatically upgraded because of conference affiliation and those types of things. Yeah, they're about there. Now, maybe you'd point to another area and say, no, they're so much further along here. But that's why I said, keeping it strictly to football, yeah, I don't think that much has changed really.
All right, Charles M., I think understand your question about any conscious reason that you're putting what was the biggest news item of the day on the back burner. You may not have seen the start of our show, and he was discussing about realignment and needs to be covered until it doesn't. We opened the show with the 4 incoming schools into the Big 12 and graphics of what they're doing on Friday, June 30th. And then we also had a segment with Matt Brown on San Diego State and the Mountain West Conference. And we have not put realignment. My God, there's even some that think we talk about it too much. We're not going to make shit up. We're not going to, excuse my language, we're not going to just say it to say it. We're going to bring it to you when we have information or stories are there, but we're not going to put it on the back burner until it's over. And it may never be over, because even if the Pac-12 does their deal and moves on, then the next question is who's next, because there will be a who's next.
Oh, there's already, some who, I guess just really thrive on talking realignment that have already pivoted, because this is reaching a close, I'm sure, to, what does the Big Ten do one day and what does the ACC do one day? And that's what I was referencing, in that last segment was, will y'all still talk realignment? Yeah, we'll still talk realignment when given a reason to. There's something out there that is there's a reason to talk about it. But as far as just like fantasy booking every day for something that might not happen for another 10 years, I have no interest in that. Like, on occasion, that'd be fun. If there's like Florida State, rattles the cage again and seem unhappy in the ACC, like, okay, let's talk about that and what could that mean? And is there anything that could change because of how they are feeling about this certain thing on a given day? Sure. And, just in general, like I've said before about realignment, it's fun to fantasy book. But as far as like every single day, hammering home something that's like 7-8 years down the road, I'm sorry, I don't think we have a ton of interest in doing that day after day after day. So, yeah, as it warrants, sure. And as you mentioned, we talked about that at the very beginning. San Diego State and the Mountain West clearly feel differently about their letter of intent. And that's something that needs to be settled between those two parties. But I think along with everybody else, fully believe that they're headed to the Pac-12 here in the next few days. And I think that would be a story if they're not. And guess what? That would be a reason to talk about them. But, yeah, we talked about it. They gave us a reason to talk about it at the beginning. And, beyond the fact that there's a disagreement over who's right and who's wrong on the intent part of things, we're waiting for that other shoe to drop to be able to discuss further the impact of an SMU actually not pretend joining, but actually joining. And, okay, what does that mean? And what, now let's wrap our heads around that. All right, how does this change? And we're very much looking forward to that. So that's the San Diego State piece seems like it's very close. Obviously, the end of the week, right? There's got to be, you would think, some movement there. SMU, not sure about their end of things and how close they might be. But, yeah, beyond that, we're like everybody else, just waiting for something factual to talk about, because we speculated all over the other parts. Like, we've talked about the potential and the comings and goings and the rumors and all of that. We've talked about that every day for months, and now it seems like we're finally getting to that point where something real is about to happen, and we look forward to talking about that.
What I enjoyed as well, Charles, and anyone else about realignment is what I was able to do, and when I put together the guest lineup and I share it with Garrett, or Craig, and when Paul is back tomorrow, is that I have this, like, again, it's a rundown. It's what we do, and it's the guests, but also the topics. And what I love about this week, rather than even a week or two or a month ago, is this week is June 30th on Friday, and that's going to be most likely something you would think with San Diego State. Whatever that might be, we discussed that early in the show. Will it be the week that the Pac-12 reveals their numbers to each of their members? That could have been 5 weeks ago, 9 weeks ago, could have been 5 months ago. And if it's this week, my God, I will celebrate. So if that is the case, but how many times have we heard that the numbers were coming?
That's the thing is like, yeah, I mean, when you've had 17,000 false starts, that's why you just don't like make every day's like, is it, like hair on fire, like the old Charlie Steiner ESPN video. He's got his tie wrapped around his head, the lights are out and the red sirens are flashing. Yeah, I mean, we could have done that a million times on the Pac-12 deal already and probably have to some extent. And so now we're just a little bit more cautious about, all right, this is the one, because, again, there's been so many times where that was supposed to be the case, allegedly, and it never has been. But, no, this feels differently because the timing dictates that it's going to probably go differently. And, I'm thrilled to, like I said, talk about not only ultimately what it means for San Diego State once it becomes official, but whatever happens with SMU one way or the other, that is going to be very interesting. And then, what does the Big 12 do? We've heard about what they want to do and all that, but the great thing is that we should pretty well know soon enough, okay, the Pac-12's got a deal. That means Colorado's doing this or they're doing that. And that means Arizona's doing this or they're doing that. And then we can move on from there. And if they join the Big 12, then guess what? That's going to be a lot of discussion about what that means. And if they don't, then naturally we'll talk about what else the Pac might do or what the Big 12 might pivot to, whether that's Gonzaga and UConn or whatever might be just staying pat. I don't know. But, yeah, very, very much looking forward to kind of seeing what the next chapter is going to entail and who that will include or not include after so much speculation on what could very well happen.
Yeah, Kyle Visser, Pac presidents are supposed to be getting the TV numbers. I've seen a couple of those thoughts out there. Between now and maybe Wednesday, after they see them, you'll see leaks and more leaks. And I will pop a bottle of expensive champagne if the numbers are actually whenever they are released, because then whether the Pac-12 stays together. If they add anybody, San Diego State and or SMU. If anyone will sign grant of rights. You'll also know if there might be departures. I will pop a very expensive bottle of champagne and might even do it here on the set when that day comes.
Yeah, I'll be happy just because I feel like we've already talked about it so much that now there's not really a whole lot left to speculate on other than just the fact that we've all been waiting now. So, yeah, I don't know about champagne for me, but it'll be, a fun day just to be able to have something else to kind of wrap our hands around. And that goes for everybody because, like I said, that will automatically force a pivot to whatever the next thing is, right? It won't just stop there and everybody's like, all right, cool, let's all go home and just spend time with family. No, it'll immediately go like, all right, so is this team coming too, or are they going to stay at 14? Or are they going to go to, well, you don't have this team in the time. Like that stuff's already all out there and will only grow whenever another chapter is finalized. So looking forward to that.
And if anybody is bringing up the fact that it's 100% streaming, like Jim Williams has brought that up with us with Apple, and then they also then take what they have and they siphon it off to somebody else to make some more. Every possible scenario that I can think of has been reported on and also out there for at least the last 6 to 8, 9 months. And whatever they end up doing, God bless them. And then we move on. All right, when we come back, JD Walton played All-American center for Baylor football, played with the Denver Broncos, and then had an injury that pretty much derailed and ended his pro career. And one of the first things, if you read about JD Walton, is that he transferred from Arizona State to Baylor, but because of the rules at that time, this is 2009, he had to sit out a year. We understand now that those rules have changed quite a bit, so his feedback on that will be a lot of fun. And this is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the people you can count on right now celebrating their 24th anniversary sales event. They've got big savings on pre-owned cars and trucks and special savings on GMC Sierra and Buick Envision SUVs right now with the Sierra trucks on the lot. Qualified buyers can save $3,000 on 23 GMC Sierra SLT or 23 GMC Sierra SLE 1500s. Qualified buyers can also get 2.9% financing on new 2023 GMC Sierra trucks. So contact the dealership for more details there, whether you're going in person or talking to them over the phone or checking out their website, richardcar.com. Get a lot of information there, and they will help you out along the way, figuring out the various percentages and the financing aspects of getting into a new vehicle, in particular those Sierra trucks. But perhaps you're looking elsewhere. You're more of an SUV person. How about some luxury? Without the luxury price, experience the smooth and quiet ride of the 2023 Buick Encore, Buick Envision, or Buick Enclave. Qualified buyers can get low financing, save $2,500 on Enclave Premium or $3,500 on the Buick Enclave Avenir. And maybe that's also not quite up your alley. If it is, contact the good folks over at Richard Car in person, over the phone, or via the website. But if you're looking around for something else, maybe not a brand new car, maybe something pre-owned, well, they've got a lot full of pre-owned cars and trucks available at the moment, many of them under $20,000. They're thoroughly inspected, they're affordable, and they're ready to finance for almost any credit rating. Quality vehicles ready to drive, pre-owned today. And if you're not in the market for a car, you're in the market of just the upkeep of your car being the best that it can be, their award-winning service department is also standing by to keep you on the road, whatever the issue may be. Their service department is top-notch. Dealt with them myself on a couple of occasions, and I have nothing but positive things to say about the experience. You can go to richardcar.com to see those service specials and set an appointment for quick and reliable service. So check out the dealership, in business for 24 years in Central Texas. Over that time, they built a reputation as the people that you can count on for your automotive needs, run by proud Central Texans. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial Exit.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
The future's bright, the time is now. College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House. Samantha Duvall is in charge of marketing and also distribution. Memorial Day, right around the corner, 4th of July. What are some of the best opportunities for people if they want to order online and maybe get a bundle when they have those holidays in front of them?
TexasBeefHouse.com. You can order. We've got plenty of family bundles. Probably our most bestseller is our sampler pack. That gives you a variety of our jalapeno and cheese patties, our regular patties, ground beef, our garlic link summer sausage. Right now, all of our family bundles are on sale. It's the best time to buy it. You can buy steaks individually. All of our steaks come 2 to a package. We ship Monday through Wednesday. So make sure you get your orders in early. That way you can get them almost the next day.
The owner, Aaron Duvall, his daughter-in-law, Samantha Duvall, head of marketing and distribution, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's Jeep season at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals are hot. Get a 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with $5,500 in total values, or a 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport with total values up to $6,000.
This is 365 Sports. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Earlier today, Pat Nunley, former Baylor men's basketball player and a part of the radio broadcast, on the call that he received to be a part of the Baylor Athletics Hall of Fame when they have that ceremony early in November. JD Walton, former Baylor All-American center, he joins us on 365 Sports with Craig and David Smoak. JD, thanks for your time. What was your reaction? And I hope your dentist office, by the way, was nice to you. What was your reaction when Walter called you?
I had a cold drink, and we just got out of the pool, and we're doing a brisket, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is awesome! What an honor!" And it was, it was just me and the wife and the kids, so we were all excited and celebrated. And it's a great deal. Very excited.
JD, did the thought of entering the Baylor Hall of Fame ever at any point since your playing career wrapped up enter your mind?
Yeah, I mean, in the very back, but it was nothing that I expected, maybe way on down the line whenever I had grandkids, maybe, and they ran out of people to put in there or something. But, no, it's awesome, man. We're truly excited about it. I mean, it's awesome because my 9-year-old boy kind of understands what it's about, and, he'll believe now that I was a good athlete back in the day.
Yeah, some of that video may not be available as much as it once was, although I'm sure there is. Part of when you look up JD Walton and how you ended up at Baylor, you transferred from Arizona State, and the next sentence will say, but because of the transfer rules, you had to sit out of a year. Are you not, it's not bitter, but are you somewhat jealous of the new transfer portal rules they have now?
Absolutely. Now I am. Now the guys are getting paid. So, heck, that would have been something else nice to get on. But shoot, I thought about it. We were joking around with some buddies. I was like, hell, maybe I can go get me another a year back. But after my body right now, I don't think that'd be a wise decision. But man, it's good. To me, it's still early on to see how it'll affect college football. But part of me likes it. Part of me because you got these guys at the smaller schools that do great, then they can go play some big-time football somewhere else. So, but I'm indifferent on it. I don't know yet.
You were a connecting part from what Baylor had been in football, which was a long time, as you know, of struggles, to then being a part of the run that they started to make under Art Briles. How much do you look back at that, knowing that the culture changed and the games or the team started to get more talented?
Yeah, definitely. Briles was a very special guy and excellent football coach. And, I mean, with him and Kaz, the strength coach at the time, I knew when they showed up, it was going to be something special. It's a shame it started right after I got done, but heck, I couldn't have been more happy for those guys. And, just watching the different kinds of athletes that started coming in, like the guys that I'd come back and watch practice or whatnot, and these guys were just monsters. And I'm like, there's no way, So seeing that transformation happen and the way they've kept it going now is truly awesome.
How much do you have you been around with Dave Aranda as head coach? Have you had any communication with him? Eric Mateos, the offensive line coach, anybody?
I speak to Eric every once in a while, every 5-6 weeks, just saying hello. Nothing crazy, just, dropping a line. And Aranda, I had a FaceTime with him last year for a little bit. Seems like an awesome guy. Keep having that defense work, and then keep that outside zone going up front on the offensive side and start hurting some people. Hopefully, we can get the ball downfield a little bit and open up that run game.
JD Walton, soon to be in November, a part of the Baylor Athletics Hall of Fame. When we had Pat Nunley, we mentioned Max Muncy from the Dodgers. He's going to be involved among others who are honored. You mentioned your body. If you don't mind me asking, because you had the injury that pretty much derailed your career, how much do you have of aches and pains to this day?
Oh, we ain't got enough time right now. It's something that comes along with it, I wake up, my ankle, 3 surgeries on it, and it goes up to your knee, then your hip, and then your low back, and then it goes over the other side, and then my whole job was punching people and grabbing and holding. So then when it's cold outside, your fingers hurt. And then when it's hot, your elbows and your shoulders and your wrists and everything swell up. So, it's a daily deal that the ex-players get to deal with. But in the same light, I'm not 100% sure I'd trade it for anything in this world. So,
do you feel like the NFL takes care of you enough?
As retirement guys, not at all. To me, there's no excuse you don't have medical benefits if you're a vested player and you earn the pension and all that stuff. To me, you should be getting medical the rest of your life, whether it's the physical aspect or the mental aspect. There's a bunch of stuff that goes on, and it's just, I don't know. I think all the other sports have it. So.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is we have had, from the times we've been at Super Bowls on Radio Row with former players back in the 60s and 70s, about the gridiron greats, and obviously some with Mike Ditka and many others have tried to give back to former players, and they've done a lot with that. But I still feel, and I still hear, and first time I've ever asked you that question, that there is still a long way to go.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's the stuff guys deal with, and the NFL kind of just writes their hands of them after 5 years if you're a vested guy. If you play, I don't even know the best anymore, if it's 3 years, if you play 2.5 years and have a debilitating injury, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You get vested. Some guys that played 10 years, what happens, and they weren't the Peyton Mannings, they're not the J.J. Watts, they're not these big-name guys. All right, well, they don't have $50 million in the bank. What do they do in 10 years when their knees go out? They start having all these problems. They can't get up and move, and they don't have health insurance, It's frustrating. But, again, I guess you know what you sign up for, but there's still a wish that the amount of money that's made through the NFL, I don't think it would hurt too bad to get people insurance.
Yeah, and you would not, and you mentioned this, you wouldn't give up a moment of what it took to get to that point, knowing even what happened after you hurt your ankle.
Man, there's nothing like it in this world. You can't find it anywhere. So, that's hard. The birth of your kids and your wedding and all that stuff is pretty close, but running out in front of 100,000 people screaming and playing in front of 25 million people watching on TV on Monday Night Football that's a different deal.
JD, if you could reflect on the moments like that were like that during your college career, when you think about the moments that stand out above others, what are maybe a couple of those in green and gold that you still cling on to?
Man, we went to Missouri. I believe it was my senior year, and I got dinged. First quarter, run out on screen, come back sideline, don't really know what's going on, hanging out. My buddy Sam Sledge goes in, plays center. Come back around fourth quarter, I'm answering all the questions right there, like, let's go. So let's go. We ended up winning the game. It was awesome. We beat Texas A&M. That was unbelievable. Getting to play in those stadiums, It's hard to beat 100,000 people and they start swaying side to side. They're annoying, but looking up in those stands is pretty crazy.
What are your thoughts about Baylor football since you left? Obviously, the great run with Bryles, the Heisman Trophy, winning Big 12 titles, and then the fall, and then Rule building him back up, and then he goes, and now Aranda had the 12-2. Last year was obviously disappointing. When someone mentions Baylor football post JD Walton, what do you say?
I hate that it ended with Bryles, but love to see where it's at right now. If Aranda, we can get him to stick around like what Bryles was doing, get him there 8, 10, 15 years, get it established, get him built into that community, dig his heels in, show him that we can have a big program, show him that we can win, we can compete in the playoff, we can get into the playoff, get into those national championship games. To me, that's where Bryles had it, and to me, I hope that's where Aranda can keep it at, keep it going. Because heck, he's starting off good, but hopefully we can get somebody that will buy in and not use it as a stepping stone to project or propel themselves forward. And I speaking to Aranda and hearing and listening to him, he's had offers. So hopefully he's that guy who can get dug into the community. And I love where it's at right now, the way it's going. I love the O-line coach, like I said earlier, talking to him and the stuff that they do. So.
Yeah, Randy Clements was as good as there ever was or will be, but Eric Mateos is, I think, in that same category. Does the winning or the emotions of winning or losing, if Baylor wins or loses, does that change with you each year as it goes by?
Heck no. I'm always a Baylor Bear. We lost. That sucks. We won. Heck yeah. It's you're always going to pull for them because that's where you went. That's where, you blood, sweat, tears. That's, my wife's a dead-gum Sooner. So we go to a Sooner game, we go to a Baylor game, and we're looking at our boys like, what shirt you going to wear, huh? So there's always that. And I'm, Baylor through and through. They got me what I have in this life, and there's nothing I can, I can't discount that, and I never will. It's a special place to me and my family, and, we love it down there.
All right, so you got the call from Walter Abercrombie. We asked you about the emotions. What started going through your mind once you realized that was a legitimate and that was going to happen? You were going into the Hall of Fame.
I said, do I have to give a speech? And, I talked to Jason Smith last night, actually. We were just kind of going back and forth, and he said, yeah, brother-in-law, you got to do a speech. And I just was like, oh, my gosh, I can't do all that. So that'll be the mountain we climb on that.
How long does it have to be? They usually like to limit the minutes. I would think with you that might make you feel even better.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go past the minimum. I know that much.
So can you get it all in 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
There's a long list of names that I got to thank and, be grateful for, but I speak pretty quick whenever I get nervous.
So you mentioned Smooth, Jason Smith, obviously a part of that next level for Baylor and how they built what was about to happen starting with 2010 and beyond and what you guys did. Any other former players you've been in touch with?
Oh, yeah. I got group chats with all kinds of guys, and I coach up here in Frisco, in the North Dallas area, and I see guys all the time. So there's Dwayne Crawford, there's Zemansky, Pavelik, Lake, Sledge, Lamb. Shoot, Lamb just got his second Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a whole list of guys.
Yeah.
That it's just keeping in check. James Barnard, Brody, Shahan, the Koffold. There's all types of guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Lamb. He's helped build that. Now, yeah, Andy Reid gets the credit, and he should. The ownership, of course, is phenomenal with Kansas City. But, and Patrick Mahomes surely doesn't hurt, but Jason's major part of them acquiring and building the right matches to keep that thing going.
Absolutely. That guy's done unbelievable for them. And he we're in the big group chat, and he'll send the pictures with all the guys in his rings, and everybody's just losing their mind. Like, that's so awesome, and everybody's so happy for him and proud of him.
All right, JD, November 3rd, you're going to get up, whatever the length of the speech is. Will you sleep that night before, or will you have to take like something to calm you down before the banquet that night?
No, shoot, it ain't going to be worse than, like I said, 20 million watching you do something. But I don't know. I sure hope not. I bet I'll go to sleep. I got enough family and stuff that'll be in town. We'll be hanging out, having a good time. So.
I bet you will. What do you miss the most about playing football?
Oh, locker room, by far. The relationships you build with the guys that you see every day, the coaches, the training staff, the weight staff. I'm sure you see the weight staff more than anybody in the training staff. I mean, those guys are integral parts of any program. You're going to be successful with the training staff, and that weight room staff got to be studs. And, man, just the relationships you build with all of them, and the time spent not even at football, just joking around, cutting up, sitting down, talking, learning about family, learning about things, and sharing things about yourself. And that's really the meat of it. Football's the fun part where you get to go get after somebody, but sitting down in that locker room and those relationships you build will never be the same anywhere else. Anytime I've asked a player, former player who played in the NFL or not, or former college player, the number one go-to answer is that locker room. There is some that will mention the roar of the crowd, kind of that adrenaline rush, that high of the moment, but it is almost, I'd say, 3 out of 4 mention the friendships, the camaraderie from within that locker room. Can you even explain that? It's hard. I mean, there's no BS in there. It's alphas amongst alphas, and it's different than the rest of the world. There's a reason that certain guys make it. There's a reason that certain guys are in that locker room, whether it is college, whether it is the NFL. I mean, these are the alphas, and just being able to interact and get their mindset, get their perspective on things, I mean, that's the best way I've heard it is, it's alphas amongst alphas, and you rule and you do your own deal, and it's just a brotherhood. Yeah, it's amazing. And congratulations. Great to have you on. We had Pat Nunley earlier, Max Muncy. He's right now still playing with the Dodgers among some others, and JD Walton right there, a part of it. You will be immortal now when it comes to Baylor with the Hall of Fame that comes up in November. Hope to see you before then and maybe have you on again before that week even gets here. We appreciate you jumping on with us today, and congratulations. Absolutely. Thank you all very much. It's hard to believe that it's happening, but heck, we're going to run with it and have fun and be sure appreciative of the opportunity that we got and the honor we're getting. So thank you all for having me. You too, JD. Thank you very much. JD Walton, former Baylor All-American center, played with the Broncos. He had, and we brought that up, the ankle injury that pretty much derailed the rest of his football career. He was picked up by a handful of teams over the next 2 to 3 years, and it just did not work out. But you can feel, you talk about a reunion that week of, that night of, that weekend of former players. JD Walton and a bunch of those guys we've had on this show are going to have some fun with that moment. Good luck to him. Congratulations. We come back and wrap it up. 365 Sports. And on a Monday, a week with the timeline, the clock ticking. July 1st, the 4 incoming Big 12 schools. June 30th, perhaps, something that San Diego State will have to react to, if not already. That and more. This is 365 Sports. Rams season at Allen Samuels in Waco. Deals that continue to be there for you. Offering 10% off MSRP, 10% off MSRP on the new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab. And your option of 2.9% financing for 72 months. All first responders get $500 off, whether it's Dodge or Jeep or Ram. And speaking of Dodge, the Dodge Challenger, the 2023 Dodge Challenger, Dodge Charger, SXT, GT, or RT with values
Total value is up to $2,000 available. The Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, the 2023, with $5,000 in total values, or 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport, total values up to $6,000. And get the 2023 Jeep Compass, 10% off MSRP. And again, first responders, an additional $500 in bonus cash. Ted Teague, the general manager, their inventory is there every day, something new arriving. Their lot is there for you to find the vehicle you need. It's Ted Teague, the GM, and Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sports family of channels on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
retired stockbroker, and also Kim Coulter with the Super Chats. We appreciate both of you. Kim was the one asking about the coverage, the core Big 12 college football and what we do, and then retired stockbroker doubled down with that. Thank you very much. Retired stockbroker also asking this, so is the new Big 12 party on this Friday? I would think, although I don't know for sure, that there will be a Big 12 official at every one of those Friday into Saturday type celebrations, the countdown to July the 1st, Cincinnati, Orlando, Houston, and also in Provo, and they should be. It's really refreshing that people who can't wait to get in, and for good reasons, because it's good for all four of them. And also, of course, it was great that the Big 12 reacted to Texas and OU with what was a staggering floor you, knock you on the campus type story to be able to stabilize. And then, of course, with your mark adding to that with the extension of the TV media deal. Yeah, and I, may have rambled. I can do that sometimes as far as like answering a question about the coverage. Basically, nothing's going to change here. Like no matter what happens with the Pac. I mean, if if there's a reason to talk expansion, we'll talk it, or talk Pac, we'll talk it, or ACC, we'll talk it, but not going to do, the whole conjuring up nothing out of nothing and acting like it's something. We'll leave that to other people to do. But, nothing's changing on this end of things, and the cast of, various people we met along the way. Same old as far as I'm concerned. And just the fact that we're actually going to have some answers will be the biggest difference, in that, we can know what we're actually, going to be seen in the future, as opposed to trying to predict it. And the predictions will now pivot towards more of, whatever other realignment branches might break off, like the SMU piece of this, or what the Big 12 does if they don't get this, and so on and so forth. So that part of it doesn't really end just yet. But very much looking forward to talking games too, and these football seasons that are about to get underway with media days just a couple weeks out. So yeah, even if that part of it dies down, the fun part, the most fun part, is about to just get kicked right back up here in the very near future, and I'm looking forward to that. All right, thanks to Jack McKenzie, Levi Caraway, who was off in Europe. Remember, he joined us last week with the news that Baylor was losing Colby Bland and in that story, Branch, in that story, and then also Graham Bronstein here again today, along with Emery Winter. Emery is putting together the 4 segments that we have tonight at 10:30 on the CW with 365 Sports Tonight. Garrett Ross, great job maneuvering. Paul is back tomorrow. Craig Smoak, thank you very much. Hope everybody had a great weekend and will have even a better week. I'm David Smoak. Good night. This is 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while